Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Tuesday to everybody out there in the land. Yes, running low on laundry, so I threw on a Trinity University shirt. It's just, please forgive me. Please forgive me for those who no, I'm not necessarily representing San Antonio for other reasons. I'm literally getting low on laundry, so I had to find something to throw on real quick. But nonetheless, I'm here. It is October the 24th, 8:02 a.m. And I appreciate everyone kind of coming in here, checking this thing out. Again, as we barrel down to the end of this year. Here we are. I mean, by next week, I mean, we're a little less than away from November, holiday times, cuffing season time. Time for some of you single men, single ladies to go ahead and find yourself a little something for the holidays. You know, it's going to get a little chilly outside and want somebody to snuggle with. So, it's about that time for some of you guys to make a move. Take your shot. Time to do something. But it's a great time, man. It's going to be a great time to talk Texas Longhorn football today. I can't believe that there's only 5 games left in the regular season. I feel like we've just been waiting all year long. And then now that it's here, it's just like boom, boom. It's like, so up. Hold up. Let's talk about this. Let's see if we can keep this thing together for a little bit of time. But obviously, we're gonna have much to discuss today, right? I mean, there'll be no shortage of Texas Longhorn football topics for us to discuss and dive into today. Aaron, you remember I told you about my pinky toe? Obviously, the issues with that. Man, I put that salve on that thing yesterday, and this morning, boy, I feel like I can run a 40-yard dash, man. That there. It may be fool's gold, but I feel like I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm just gonna be honest with you, Aaron. So, but that thing has been pretty good. We're gonna spend today's show kind of breaking down, kind of in segments. I'll break down everything that Sarkeesian said yesterday for those of you who have missed it. For those who didn't check out some of the other shows, those who just don't have a chance to watch everything, and of course, allow me the opportunity to comment on it because I go before Sarkeesian goes. So I'm going to kind of talk about everything that he discussed kind of around a 9:20-ish time frame. Right around this time is usually when that time I really want to, on a Tuesday, try to bring in a guest to really break down like what's going on. So I will have Greg Rubel, I believe is how I'm pronouncing his last name, from BYU Radio. He's going to be on with me. He's been doing that for a very long period of time. And so we get a chance to see what the heck is going on at BYU, find out what's going on with that situation there. Obviously, today will be a day for us to get back into some buy or sell. We didn't have a chance to do it yesterday because it's a shortened show, but today's Tuesday. It's a longer show, so we'll have a chance to do some buy or sell today. I'm going to have 10 keys from Malik Murphy to have success. We're going to talk all about that today as well. We're going to have Jason Suchomel on at the 10:20 hour. We're going to have social media standouts as well. I've got the show packed, baby. The thing is about today, there'll be no shortage of topics. There'll be no shortage of topics, no shortage of things for us to talk about. And so, yes, we're going to get into everything. We're going to address and unpack everything. So don't go anywhere. Listen to the show. If you got to hop in late, listen to this thing on 1.5 speed. I've been trying that, Aaron. It's actually pretty good. Like it's once you get used to someone talking fast, it's actually not that bad. I'll be honest with you. And you get through like the ho, 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 where it takes too long of laughing. There was like, ha, ha, ha. Okay. And it just keeps going like that. Okay. So let's go to the Longhorn time. And you're like, and you get it. I'm like, man, I'm actually going to be able to do that. So yes, listen to it on 1.5 speed and get through it in probably like half the time. And do that as well. But yeah, I guess I got to make sure for those who are new to the show, can't take anything for granted. This is the Old Fashioned Sports Show, and I am your host, Anwar Richardson. Old Fashioned Sports Show, kind of a throwback on the name. Of course, one of my favorite drinks, actually my favorite drink. Like all kinds of old fashions, the regular old fashioned, smoked old fashioned, the Japanese old fashioned, you name it, I've darn near tried it. So, and you also know good places to go get an old fashioned. Let me know. Most bartenders suck at it. I'm just being honest with you. But if you can find someone that's good, it's worth its weight in gold. So let me say good morning to some of the people who are here in the chat, who have gotten in here early on our Specs chat line. Want to make sure I show everyone some love. Always try to make sure that I do that. Buck Wild back again. Isn't that back-to-back days of Buck Wild being number one? I think it is. All right, good. I see you, Buck Wild. I like it. I don't know how you're doing this in the truck, but nonetheless, he's in there. Breaker 1-2 for all the truckers that are out there. So everyone get your horns up for Malik Murphy. This is his ship for the time being, and he needs everyone's support to help selling it smoothly. Absolutely, Buck Wild. I will tell you this, just the person, the wordsmith in me, there's 2 A's in Malik. Just so you know, 2 A's in Malik and not 1 A. Just want to make sure you got that right going forward. Good morning to you, Nino Season. Hey, Charles Montgomery Wright, don't lie while you're sleeping on it. Sarkeesian did mention Charles Wright in his press conference yesterday. He did mention Charles Montgomery Wright in his press conference yesterday. Now's the time for Charles to come out. Just put on the Superman cape and just let everybody know. Just have that thing like flapping in the wind in the background. Charles Wright just stand up there on Mount Bonnell somewhere, put out the bat signal. There's Charles Wright. That was my cape flapping in the background, if you didn't know. Yes, Charles Wright. That's what's up, man. I like Charles Wright. Zio_V, my favorite Hennessy bottle. Good morning to you, Eric Hart. Yo, back to you. Robert, back in the house. Hope you and Whitney are doing fantastic. Soto 806, you kind of lost the top spot, but still in the top 5 as always. Lewis Gaines, my man, is always up and early. Mr. Hookem is back. So good to see you as well. Just another fragrance reviewer out there getting dressed in the morning. Appreciate it. He got no R&B music on, just and listen to me. So go ahead and put that. What's the cologne of choice today, Mr. Fragrance Reviewer? What you got cooking for us today when you get ready to head into the office? What you got? I know you got some stuff that I never heard of. You got that next level behind the secret door kind of cologne. So what you got on today, man? Dale Coleman, always good to see you. Always good to see you as early as well. Anthony, top 10. Chris Nelson, yo to you, my friend. JW Crunch, buenos dias, Picardios. Is that what that means? Is that Picardios? I probably should not have said it because I don't know what that means. So maybe I hope it's not a cuss word. I hope I didn't. Wait. What does this mean? Hold on. Now I gotta know. What is the interns? Oh, okay. All right. Well, so you want to say? Let me see. Okay, so buenos dias, becarios. Okay, no problem, JW. Not quite sure what that means though. Smash. Thank you, Robert. Arthur, good morning. Chris Bennett, the original OG. Good morning to you, Agent Z. Let's go, baby. Tom G, I'm glad you up here early. You took a little bit of time to get in here yesterday, but I'm glad to see you in here. Max Jefferson is in here. Money B, my main man, Money is in here. Cotton, Young Buck, homeowners in the house. Jared's in here. JC, Yellow Belly is in here. Cotton Button. Got my Cottons in here. I gotta know how you guys came up with these names, though. How'd you get the nickname of Cotton? And please, because when you think of Cotton, you think soft, right? You didn't get a nickname of being soft, did you? That's not a nickname that stuck. Like Booger. You it's usually like insulting names that end up being your nicknames. Please don't tell me Cotton Button and Cotton there. You gotta tell me I got the nickname because typically it's like, oh man, you Charmin Cotton, right? So what's the genesis of it? I know it can't be because you're soft, so you would not have embraced it. So tell me about that is Jaime Gutierrez. Good to see you this morning. Mike Harges, my dude, is in here. Jay Ward is in the house. Chad Gibbs is in the house. SEC. Jason Burt is in the house. That's not not SEC Mike though, but a good Jason Burton's in the house. I thought it was SEC Jason. I thought it was SEC Mike. So, but good morning to you, Jason Burt from the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia, where it goes down. Longest horns in here. Adam DeLeon is in here. Mike Torres, my friend, my good friend Mike Torres is in the house. Mike, is it worth me spending money to get on the Austin FC waiting list? You just got to tell me. Big Tex is in the house. Alex Salazar is in the house. Doug is in here. Stanley is in here. Has Vegas updated the Heisman odds to reflect the increased possibility of Charles Wright playing this season? Well, all I got to know is when they do update those odds, Unc will be placing, I will take out a second mortgage and place it all on Charles Wright, baby. Take it all on Charles Wright, baby, and let that thing roll. Let that thing roll for Charles Montgomery White for the Heisman. You damn right. Damn right on Charles Wright. Michael Gooseby, where you been, man? I haven't talked to you in a hot minute, but good morning to you, sir. Hope you've been doing well. I see Michael Angel Diaz. Miguel Angel Diaz. You guys see it now? My Spanish is starting to flow a little bit better. You notice that? Miguel Angel Diaz. Going out of San Antonio for nothing. Ben Crocker's in here. Oh, okay. Hold on, Chad Gibson. I'm going to get to your super chat in a second, Chad. I just want to say good morning to everybody else. Robert Kemp, good to see you. Top Notch is good to see you. Just a Dude is in here. Terrence McLean is in here. And then Bo is in here. Boomer Sumer, what's good from 11 Mile? That's good. What's going on for you? 11 Mile, go ahead and head up a couple of more. You're going to go to Royal Oak? Yeah, I know you're in 11 Mile. Do you ever went to, Bo, you ever went to Toast up in Birmingham for like breakfast up there? That used to be my spot when I lived in Detroit. Love going to Toast. Are you a Toast person, Bo, by any stretch of the imagination? I'm kind of curious. Of course, Darian and Morris, Mike Pips as well. Chad Gibson, you put a super chat in, so I want to make sure I get to you. Good morning to you, Chad. How you doing? Good morning to you, Mike Pips. A super chat there. Morning, Unc. I enjoyed your spot on Big 12 Radio yesterday. Thank you so much. Those guys are really nice. They were acting like I was like just giving them some kind of New Testament over there. They're like, my goodness, but thank you so much. You're so informative, blah, blah, blah. Now, maybe they were talking crap when I got off the air. They're like, worst interview ever. But no, I had a good time on there. I got a chat. I get a lot of requests. That's not humble brags or anything like that. But I get a lot of requests. It's like it's just hard for me to make all of them. But I was able to do that one. I'm also going to be on someone's show tonight. I think it's called Big Sports Radio at 8:15 this evening. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I don't love doing evening shows because I want to kind of unwind and everything. But I'm going to finish up what you're saying. Yeah, Big Sports Radio. Tony Cordero invited me to be on that. So yeah, I'll figure that thing out. But anyway. I remember though, that's a good thing. It's a good thing I was out picking up the kids, or I would have been on the floor due to all the Anwar shots. They did call me Anwar all throughout the whole show. They did. It was like, Anwar, good stuff. Anwar, let me ask you a question. Anwar this, Anwar that. You're right. If you guys had to do it and we replayed it, oh man, that would have been brutal. That would have been brutal. You guys would have been drunk off your ass. But yeah, I did. It was doing the Big 12 Radio yesterday. So yesterday at 4:00. But those guys were pretty good, and I enjoyed it as well. Bo, yes, you gotta go to Toast, by the way. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Fantastic food. That was one again, great place up there. And of course, in Royal Oak, there's always that. What's that place? Is it Leo's or something like that that had the Conies there? But I definitely liked a lot of good eating spots that were there. Especially like you said, you were you're on 11 Mile. I lived right off of 11 Mile, by the way, Bo. I'm not. There's the last of our bonding for a second, but I live right off of 11 Mile, right there. So you're 11 Mile. You're in Oak Park. That's actually where you're at. Correct? Am I correct on that? You're right there in Oak Park if you're off of 11 Mile, and that's where I was for a hot minute. Like I said, we're gonna have a lot of stuff to get into. I want to start with just one quick thing, one quick newsy item, and then we're gonna take a break because I got a lot of things that I want to get into. So let me do this, as you guys kind of know, kind of a news thing that broke last night. That Texas edge defender Kristopher Ross is no longer with the team. And I felt like you guys watched the movie Friday, and it was like, how you get fired on your day off? And I'm just like, and that's how I feel like Kristopher Ross, like how you get fired off your day off, because as it appears to be, when they looked into it, that not only was it no longer on the team, they're like, yeah, these being pulled from the roster. I mean, it was kind of like, hey man, like you're off the team at this moment. That's exactly how it came across, like exactly how it appeared. Didn't look like it was something that Kristopher Ross decided to do and decided to walk away. It looked like that decision was made for him. So things like that happen in season. It's usually when the guy goes in the transfer portal. So I'm still tracking it down. You know, what we've heard was it needed to happen. So right now, I don't have the details. You know, me. I try to be. I try to be very careful with my reporting. If you follow me at all, I'm assuming most of you do. In my reporting, you know, I take getting stories right very seriously, and so I won't go with something unless I feel very, very good about it. So I'm not going to speculate on it. All I know right now from a surface level is something went down with him. Something went down with him, and my man got fired on his day off. Like that's what I know. But I don't have the details as of yet. But I feel like I got a call last night, close to midnight, about it, and I was gone. And so I tried to get in contact with that person this morning, and I've been unable to. So I will definitely, hopefully, maybe be able to have that, and maybe potentially even be able to have it during the show when it's all said and done. You never know. My phone's right here, and I'm always looking down at it because it's because I do a show, but I'm also a reporter. And so, you know, as a reporter, like going 3 hours without looking at your phone is crazy, right? You just can't do it. And so, you know, I'm waiting to see if I get some more updates, and if I can get some more information on that one, I will absolutely do that. And, you know, yes, before I even go to this first break, just also know that the first part of the show is brought to you by my main man, El Presidente, Eric Solis Homes DFW. If you're looking for a home in the DFW area, you don't have to look any further than El Presidente. He's the main man that's got you covered. You're looking to buy a home, looking to sell a home, whatever it is. You need some inquiries about things that you want to do. Hey, El Presidente, he's the man that has you covered. You see that QR code right there? Boom. All you got to do is go ahead. You get your QR reader, or, you know, that most of the young people do. They just take your phone out like you're going to take a picture of it. Then all of a sudden, this little yellow thing will pop up. It'll be the link. You go ahead and hit that link, and then he ends up being the person that helps you out. It's late October. If you're thinking about making a move, whether it's later this year, early next year, go ahead and hit up Eric Sells Homes DFW. The man with the master plan. He will have you covered. Someone's already scanned that QR code, so that's what's up. I appreciate it. But yeah, you know, these big purchases, you want to make sure that you got somebody on your side, somebody that's on your corner. You don't want to mess it up. The margins, as you guys know, I mean, you know, a couple of points here or there, it leads to thousands of dollars on the flip end. So you need to make sure you got a guy that's got you covered, that will take care of you. And of course, El Presidente does his picks on Friday, and he'll be back on Friday as well with those things, and we'll go into that. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to come back. So we're going to cover everything that Steve Sarkeesian said in his press conference yesterday. Lots of topics, lots to discuss, lots of injuries, lots of other news and notes. So let's do a quick break, and we will be right back.
Do you think Sark gets ultra conservative, or will he let Malik throw it on first and second downs to keep defenses honest? It's Malik's show. What kind of show are we going to get, Anwar?
First of all, thank you. I do remember meeting Lucius and having a good conversation with him, so I definitely do appreciate that. He's watched the shows for years and stuff, so thank you so much for that. It's going to be interesting, Lucius. I wish I can handicap it at this moment. There's a part of me that kind of feels like Sark is who he is, and he's going to try to do what he feels like he can, what he normally does. And I don't think he's going to want to try to make himself one-dimensional by any stretch of imagination. Catches the same person when a deep ball wasn't working last year. He still kept throwing it. Like, he never stopped. So I look at this. I look at him that says, look, we look at Sark's resume. Sark's going to do him. What he says, hey, I'm going to take risks. We're going to be up tempo, high powered offense. Like, I'm going to do all that. So I don't expect him to dial it back, to be quite honest with you. Now there's an argument that can be made. Was he should or shouldn't? But at the end of the day, I don't see him, especially going against BYU, his former school. Him telling himself, I'm just going to run the ball 50 times. Like, I don't see that catch. I don't, there's nothing about that sees that. And, if that, but so, no, I don't think he's going to get ultra conservative. I don't see that. I don't see that on his resume at all. Oh, I like that. I like that. Good job with the things. I know. I have worked. I just saw one person yesterday said they missed the Longhorn, the recruiting flashbacks, and I just thought, wow, you miss repetitiveness. Like, I was hoping it was a joke. I was hoping they were just messing around with that thing. But nonetheless, yeah. And by the way, yeah, go ahead, Robert. You're not too early. Go ahead and get your buy or sell questions in as well. Get those things in now. Because we'll definitely I'll try to make sure I do that probably within the next 10 to 15 minutes at the absolute most. So get buy or sell questions in there and get those things loaded up in your chat as well. And by the way, hit that like button if you haven't done it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that as well. I'm not talking about all you guys, Texas fans. We got the Oklahoma fans that come in here. We got Tech fans that come in here. All y'all come in here. Just hit the like button and subscribe to the thing. And then and we'll go from there. So Sarkeesian did have his press conference yesterday, and was able to sit down and address the media. Aaron finally started the press conference at 11:30. I have been saying this week after week after week after week. It makes no sense to try to start this thing at 11 when he's not going to be ready until damn near 11:30. Just start it at 11:30. Makes all the sense in the world. And then this way you don't have the man looking late. And guess what? They started at 11:30 and he was on time. Go figure. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm just talking. Like, sometimes I'm like, man, I've got ideas. These ideas are good. But it's almost like because I said it, then no one wants to listen to it. And so, but nonetheless, they started at 11:30. And then we kind of went from there. And so Sarkeesian, he started talking about the game, and he started talking about the Houston game. So we'll start with that. And he's kind of talked about how he felt like their culture was something that was able to shine through that game, how they were able to keep their composure, how they had some mental toughness, how the things that they emphasized during the bye week had shown up, which was the red zone, of course, ability to create turnovers, and the return game. So he felt overall they were able to do a lot of good things and a lot of positive things against Houston. He's right. Like, the red zone was a lot better. They were able to create the turnovers, especially when necessary. And of course, the return game was big as far as that is concerned, and special teams. Like, I still think, as much as Houston fans would like to complain about the spot and how they may have gotten robbed in the spot, I still think the biggest crime for Houston was the idiotic play calling by whoever it was, whether it's the special teams coordinator or Holgerson. But when you tie the game at 24-24 and then you decide to do a short kick to Keelan Robinson, and then he returns that thing to the 47-yard line, that's on you. That's on you for not shortening the field. You have a redshirt freshman quarterback, but you got a young quarterback who's basically playing his first game, thrown into the fire. Oh man. Eric, check this out. You remember I was saying like I might be able to get the information about Kristopher Ross. I'm getting a phone call on it right now during the show. I can't take it. So I will. Oh man, it's literally is happening right now. It's literally going to have a missed call. Oh man, I guess we won't know. I guess we won't know until later on. Damn it, man. Opportunity missed. Guess I should have been able to I'll call back during the next break and see what else I can get for you guys, and see if maybe I can get that for you live going forward. Ain't that something? Such is life sometimes. Unfortunately, we don't have a 10-minute break that we can play, so we got to keep going with that one. So nonetheless, Dana Holgorsen, I thought his idiotic play calling was really the more criminal portion, more so than the spot. If you make a guy like Malik Murphy drive the length of the field, then you give yourself a shot. But you don't make Malik Murphy drive the length of the field, then I mean that's on you for shortening the field for him, and then they can just hand the ball off the entire time. May or may not have made a difference, but at the end of the day, it does make a difference. So he did talk about that. We talked about injuries. That thing happened as well. He talked about Quinn Ewers and Jalen Catalon. So from the Quinn perspective, should not have really come as a surprise to you guys. I think yesterday I predicted that he would probably say day-to-day as far as the injury was concerned, because he went day-to-day with the injury with Quinn last year, and I knew that was going to be several weeks. And so, of course, when I said several weeks, and then he said day-to-day, then all of a sudden people was like jumping on me. Oh, you must be wrong. Get better sources. Blah 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 blah. Right? That's how I feel like they talk. Right? That's how it comes across when I read it on Twitter. It just comes across blah 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 blah. Right? All this BS. Right? And then when it's all said and done, like my timeline was correct. And so this one, as a reporter, when you put yourself out there to put a report out there, you feel good about your reporting, you feel good about your sourcing on it the way I did. But then, there's always like, you're like, all right, you still need to, what you don't want is the coach to come in and like blow up your story. Because I've seen that happen to people. I've had it happen to me, but I've seen it happen to people. We've seen it happen here. We've seen this thing happen just recently with Jake Majors, where there's a report that says he's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, and he ended up practicing that Monday, and then he was in the game the following week, less than a week after that report. Like, we've seen reports get blown up, right? And so that's the one thing you don't want as a reporter. Like, you don't want to all of a sudden get exposed as far as that is concerned. But luckily. Luckily, Sark didn't confirm anything. He didn't get into the details of what I had reported as far as the sprain is concerned. But he did say week to week. And week to week definitely matches kind of what my thought process was based off the reporting, that it's not going to be anytime soon. Like, it's going to be a little bit of time. Day to day versus week to week. That's two totally different things. And so him saying week to week implies that it's going to be a little bit of time. Like, we're talking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Like, it's going to be a little bit of time. And then it's going to be the Malik Murphy show for a period of time. So he did talk about that a little bit, but he also threw Ethan Burke in the mix, Jalen Catalon. Ethan Burke is becomes really interesting because I think I told you in the overreaction show, I'd said that to Catch, if you guys had missed it, that as I'm on the field after the game, and everything's happening. So, the game's over. Players are, talking to everybody, different team, just, how the scene is after the game. And then after that period of time, they do the Eyes of Texas. And then, players start going into the locker room, and some players are talking to family members that are kind of down in the, in the stands. So they're kind of, looking up, talking to them for a little bit. Then everybody goes into the locker room. And then all of a sudden I see Ethan Burke like minutes later. I'm talking about a while later. And I just thinking to myself, oh man, this ain't good. And he was limping. So, and he was also with two members of the medical staff. So at that point, I was like, well, this is not good. Like, so while all this was going on, he was getting taken care of, had to get taken care of to the point where they're saying, man, let's take care of this before you even go. Not let's go into the locker room and let's look at it. Let's look at this thing now before we even go into the locker room. I kind of knew at that point that was going to be a slight issue, and it ended up being that. So he's week to week. And of course, Jalen Catalon is kind of in the same breath as that as well. So that thing happened yesterday, and that ended up being kind of a topic. Sarkeesian, talked about Maalik and talked about his show some great composure being in there. He talked about how Jade stepped up, Savion Red had stepped up, Jamon Tapp stepped up when needed. And they said that's the beauty of the team, which is where the depth is in. He talked about things that need to get fixed. And so one of the things that he said that everyone's kind of dialed in the meetings. But they said they have to keep the focus in on themselves. The opinions of others don't really matter. They can only control what they control. He said the players seemingly understand that, the importance of staying focused in on themselves and not worrying about the outside noise. So that's happened to be something that was said. He talked about the BYU coaches. And that'll be a narrative at some point this week. Sark playing against his former program. It's not a narrative that really moves my needle, kind of, be honest with you. Like, I mean, it's a great story for him. But as a guy who thinks big picture, it probably would mean more if it was like, maybe say like a former a coach from BYU who used to be at UT coaching against UT. That might be more interesting and more intriguing for me. Sark going against his former team. It's a good personal story. It just doesn't move my needle, especially because it's BYU. And there's not much about BYU that moves my needle, to be quite honest with you. So, but yeah, he did talk about those guys going against those players, the former, guys that he knew for a long period of time. So there was that. He talked about Malik Murphy, and that kind of became a subject, of course, yesterday. Talked about him being a natural passer, throws a beautiful ball, not a throw that he cannot make. Then also talk about the leadership qualities that Malik has, and I've heard this and reported this all throughout the all season, that he is a leader, someone that the team does gravitate to. I mean, his presence. I mean, the dude's 6'6". What's he listed at? Like 2. Let me see. I got something right here. What is it? I feel like it's 238, but I want to make sure I got it correct. Yeah, 6'6", 238. Boy, I got a lot of useless knowledge in me. Goodness gracious. 238. I don't know why I have that memorized, Aaron. That's a lot of. I guess it's not useless because I needed it on the show. I'm just shocked that I actually had that memorized in there. Yeah, I probably can't remember what I did on Friday, so go figure. But somehow, for some reason, I had that thing in my head. It's brain's a fascinating place sometimes. But yeah, I have heard that. I think I don't know. I don't know if I told you a story that. So many years ago, I remember I was covering the Orlando Magic. Okay, we'll take it back. Okay, I'm gonna take it back. I was covering the Orlando Magic. I forget what. There was no game in particular. I do remember covering them in the playoffs. When Nick Anderson had missed 4 straight free throws. So I do remember that. But that is so right around that time frame. Anyway, I remember being in the locker room one time. And I remember there was this huge shadow that went over me. And I was like, what the hell? Because I'm 6'2". Now, in the NBA locker room, I'm just a point guard, right? I mean, just in the NBA locker room, I'm the shrimp, right? On the street, I'm the person that's taller than everybody else, right? And every time I meet somebody, the first thing that everyone always tells me when they see me is you're a lot taller than I thought you were. Because everyone sees me and I'm sitting down, they only see this portion of me. So most people think I'm short. And then when they see me, they're like, oh snap, you're legit 6'2". They think I'm tall. So I remember this shadow coming over me in Orlando Magic, and I felt this presence. And like I turned around and it was Shaq, right? And I was like, oh, I was like, that's a big dude. Like that. I mean, when you see that walking past you, like, man, that's a big blanking man that just walked past me. He's like, he says, I'm like, Scuba Dog. And I was like, okay. We could have literally just went like that. Like that's how the huge this dude was, right? And I haven't had that in a long period of time. I remember in the off season, they put us in Moncrief for doing like for the interviews, and sometimes players would cut through like the interview room. And I remember it wasn't to the same degree as Shaq, but I remember feeling someone's presence as soon as they walked in the room. And I thought to myself, it's Chris Nelson, like, Unc 6'2". What the hell? I know all you guys think I'm short. Like that's the craziest thing, Chris Nelson. Like all you guys think I'm like a 5'7" or 5'8". Like no, dude. Like I'm legit on the dot 6'2". Like I'm not talking about with sneakers in. I'm not talking about with anything raising me up. I'm like legit on. I'm a legit 6'2". I'm a legit 6'2". I mean, now the weight's not going to be impressive. the weight's not going to be impressive. It's like about $178 or something like that. So don't got a bunch of weight on me. I like to be around 175. That's a healthy weight for me. Like I've been over 200 before. I didn't like it. I worked out a lot, and I started taking a lot of the supplements to get bigger. So I was like, had a personal trainer, and I can find some pictures of you. Like, and actually, you're not now that you wouldn't believe that Unc was actually kind of swole. Like I really was. I was worked out for over a year, taking all that stuff. But all those things that like they mess up with your liver. And I went to like the doctor, and you know, they ran some tests, and like it just had everything out of creatine, right? It had all I was getting it from the GNC. It was just all out of whack. You know, and all my things were out of whack, and it was messing with my liver. And so I was like, okay, I got this come off of this and get to a weight that I feel my body's comfortable with. So I'm really 175ish to 180 is just kind of my target weight for my body. You know, everybody's body is different, but for my body, it makes me feel healthy. But yes, let's legit 6'2". So anyway, in the off season, I'm in the room, and it's not like the Shaq thing. But I just remember this presence coming in, and it was Malik. And I looked, and I was like, again, not like Shaq, but at 6'2", and I had to look up to a dude that's 6'6", about 240. I was like, man, that's a big dude right there. I'm not. And then when he talked, I mean, he's got like this. You ever know people who have like loud voices just on GP, like they're not trying, but it's like a yo dog. It's like that. You're like, oh snap, you know, like yo, what's up? Where we going later? And you're like, oh goodness gracious, you feel this thing like vibrating. So when he started talking, I was like, oh god, like this dude is huge, like, and so yes, so that's kind of the Malik thing. The kind of the Malik presence of things to that effect. So yeah, when they say he has a presence, that dude has a presence. I'm telling you, I've been in locker rooms. I felt it was like this guy's who the hell just walked in, because you know this guy was legit. So anyway, there was that. We'll get into this thing. Because, I'll say this. He said a lot could be said for Quinn's leaderships, for Charles Wright's knowledge of the scheme. And those guys are always trying to lift each other up, as it was talking about Malik as a starter, because Charles Wright, but put some respect on his name. We'll get into this a little bit more I'll just give you a little bit of a teaser of this thing. I know people are going to try to talk up the Arch angle, and I know that that's going to be out there. I'm going to tell you, I'm just not buying it. I'm just not. I'm not buying it. There's nothing that I've heard that leans towards it in that direction. If something changes this week, obviously I'll let you know. But going into this week, as I'm recording this thing, or not recording, but at least talking to you at 8:41 on a Tuesday morning, that's just not where it's at this moment. So he's good. Yes, look, and when Sark says, "Hey, if a game had to be played today, then Malik would be the starter." Well, then that's signed, sealed, delivered. It's not like, oh, so game had to be played today, Malik would be a starter, but if a game had to be played on Saturday, then he wouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? Like this, just use your intellect. So you're telling me within the next 5 days or so that would change? 5 days. Malik is 5 days away from not being a starter. Come on now. So yeah, I don't not going to buy on all that. Let me see what some of the other things that he talked about. I want to make sure I get into that. Talked about the crossing routes, difficulty when they run the crossing routes. He said Houston did a really good job of picking up the defenders, picking off the defenders. And then said there was some poor communication, and they didn't cover it properly. I feel like this is kind of second straight game we've heard about poor communication in the secondary. Right? I feel like we heard about that versus Oklahoma, especially on that last drive about poor communication. Now we're hearing about this whole poor communication thing again. That thing needs to be addressed, right? I mean, what are we talking about? That cannot be something that remains on the table going forward. Talked about obviously Ewers being disappointed. There's a huge, there's stories out there about Michael Taft, if you're interested in that. But yes, Michael Taft and what he's been able to do. And there's some other, I think those are kind of the main things. And kind of the last thing he talked about, which is he was asked about sign stealing in college football. And he said, signal stealing is real, definitely a factor in college football. He said some teams rely on it more than others. You have to account for it. And then you have to try to hide it to give your players the best chance to be successful. I thought that was a really interesting observation by Sark, because by him saying that he's acknowledged that sign stealing occurs, he didn't get into details, but it makes you wonder, has it happened here at Texas? Is he aware of it here at Texas? He didn't put anyone on blast, but he's like, "Oh, it's a real thing. You got a chance." And so it just makes you wonder, huh? Anybody Texas played this season, last season, season before that, where that's a thing? It's made it interesting. Agent Z has got something. Make sure you guys go get buy or sell in the chat as well, because we're going to hit that next. But Agent Z has got a super chat that's in here. He says, "What up, Unc? What up to you, Agent Z? If we are up big entering the fourth quarter in the BYU game, we see Arch come in. That's a statement, even though there's no question mark at the end. I mean, I think Agent Z, that's your hope, right? Your hope is that you're up big. Your hope is that you have the opportunity to play Arch. Like, that's your hope for that to occur. We'll see. We'll see if you have that opportunity. But you're talking up 28 points or something like that. I think my only question on that one, Agent Z, is that, to me, Malik probably needs as many reps as possible. Even if he's handing off, like, to me, Malik needs as many reps as possible. So I'm not quite sure. Even if you have 28 points, I don't know if you play Arch much at all when it's all said and done. Maybe you let him get in for like the final series or two, but that's it. Like, Malik is not proving himself to the point where you say, we can go ahead and pull him. Like, no, he needs as much work as possible. So I will go ahead and if it's a buy or sell, I'm going to sell on that right now. All right, let's do this. Let's do a quick break. Then we come back. We're going to do more buy or sells. So get your questions in the chat. More buy or sells. I got a guest coming up at 9:20. I've got more topics to get into. So do not go anywhere. Be right back. Yeah, just been obviously following the story since it happened last night, and then kind of spent all day following the story. And there's still things that are developing at this moment, but finally felt like I was at a place where it was comfortable enough to kind of put out there and report what I knew, and things that I kind of knew a little bit earlier today. But Quinn Ewers sustains an AC joint sprain, is what I was told, according to my sources, in his throwing shoulder. I think there's a little bit of confusion out there, Catch, because people saw that hit that Quinn took, and they assumed that's what got him hurt or got him injured. But that actually, if you look at it more closely, that happened to his left shoulder. That was not when the injury occurred. It occurred during a sack against Houston. That's when Quinn gets hurt. As you can see, Pete Thamel, not too long after I tweet that out, he ends up confirming it and then adding a little bit more details with a grade 2 AC joint sprain in his right throwing shoulder, as the MRI revealed this point. Again, he kind of confirms what I report, that as of Sunday night, no timetable for the return, but we'll learn more this week. I think there's more tests, Catch, that from what I'm learning, that will probably be rerun this week to kind of make determination as to when Quinn will return. And so because of that, that's the reason why there is no timetable. But I think the safest things to say at this moment is that, one, AC joint sprain, so there's no break or anything to that effect. But two, you're probably not going to see Quinn on the field within the next couple of weeks. Like, I think you have to go into this weekend a game, or this upcoming weekend's game, feeling like it's probably going to be Malik starting at the quarterback position, feeling how Arch feels in. But the big news as of this moment is, one of the worst case scenarios that you can have for Texas Longhorns season is knowing that your starting quarterback once again is not going to be available. Once again, of course, this happened last year. And then, in my Sunday pulpit, I went through a whole list of Texas quarterback injuries that have happened probably since 2009. So that's kind of where we are as relates to Quinn Ewers as of Sunday night. All right, welcome back. And by the way, Aaron, this is what I was talking about, this like solve thing. It's by the Rogue Shop, and it's almost like, you remember, like a Vicks vapor thing, that Vicks thing that you would like put on your chest. They got this little solve. While I was in the break, man, I've been rubbing this thing under my broken pinky toe. I'm telling you, this feels. I feel good, man. Like I'd feel like if I had to go, I could go to practice if I needed to, man. But it's got some 200 milligrams of a CBD, and I'm no doctor. I don't take my advice. I'm just telling you what's kind of been working for me. That has been working for me. So now I'm gonna let this thing soak in on this little pinky toe for the next couple of hours. And it's gonna be my toe's gonna be high. My toe is gonna be high and feeling good and enjoying life. So, Jay Ward, you said you tried some of that THC salve in Colorado. That helped. I'm telling you, man. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely been helping. All right, listen. Buy or sell. Like, I was limping about it. And by the way, I hear there are a lot of Jonte Cook questions in here. That must be Rodolfo must have had it in this group chat. And Rodolfo must have got all the troops together and said, we're going to force this issue and we're going to force it that's gonna have this question is gonna be answered. Hold on. Let's ask the person to ask me the Chris Ross thing. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Damn it. So let's do some buy or sells though. Let's see what's on everyone's mind. Go ahead and get all your questions at the in the chat. Super chat, obviously, will always move you to the front of the line. So that's your power. That's your flex. That means you don't have to stand there and wait and see and hope if something's going to get asked. It will get asked as we go about it. Okay. Let's do buy or sell. Buy or sell from what is this? G Cobb, Bryce, little guy, fast. Oh, okay, that's a family photo. That's what that looks like. It looks like so G Cobb, Bryce, little guy. It's a little photo. I can barely see it, but it looks like that's like a family photo with you. In the is it that like is that 2 kids? Is that what that is? I can't. It's so tiny on my screen, but it looks like there's 2 kids on a bench there. So. From what I can tell, it looks like it look cute, man. Love kids, man. I love my kids, man. I miss my little man. But yes, all right, buy or sell. Bring in Gary Patterson, sell. Okay, I'm gonna sell, and then I'm gonna go back. Or another defensive mind to assist our DC with in-game adjustments and game planning. The D needs to be adjusted in game. I'd sell on that. I'm just gonna. Here's my ultimate. Here's why I got to sell on this one. Is that look, man? At the end of the day, I get it. I get what Gary Patterson had. He had some help, so on and so forth. But Gary Patterson wasn't necessarily helping with in-game adjustments last year. Gary Patterson's not allowed to coach. So when you start talking about like bringing in analysts and things to that effect, that they're not allowed to coach. They're not allowed to put on a headset. They're not allowed to have that kind of input on the sideline. So that doesn't necessarily help. Okay. Now you can talk about game planning, and that's fine as far as game planning is concerned. So there's a case to be made as far as different kinds of analysts that could potentially be brought in. But at the end of the day, I just don't know if trying to bring in Gary Patterson is the best idea. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, how do I say it? I mean, I think Gary Patterson came here for 1 year. I think Gary Patterson kind of wanted to kick the tires. It's, keep his name, just be around football, and then see if he can get some offers as a head coach after 1 season. I don't think he got what he was looking for. And so now he's chilling and he's relaxing. And I don't know if Gary Patterson is the answer to everything that is problematic for Texas. So and I think it's there's a Sarkeesian factor that needs to be weighed into this thing, which is at the end of the day, Sarkeesian should be a person that has the answers as well. It shouldn't be like Sarkeesian doesn't know anything about defense. If you know a lot about offense, you should know a lot about defense. And so the two work together. So I don't look at Gary Patterson as the great savior like other people do. I look at him as someone who's been pretty effective and was effective in his role here last season. But I'm not necessarily just 100% sold that if you bring in Gary Patterson now, somehow, some way, things get magically better. So I'm just going to sell on that one. And and see what happens going forward with this defense, who overall was playing pretty good up until the last couple of weeks when they actually started playing real quarterbacks. And that happened. All right, let's do another one. I know I need to get a B12 shot and stay away from this. But check this out, Aaron. The C4 thing, it's Skittles flavor. Skittles. It is delicious. They also have a Starburst flavored one too. You know how they got me? Mike Torres would know exactly what I'm talking about if Mike Torres is still here. Mike, do you remember when they were handing these things out before Austin FC games just like a few weeks ago? And they were handing them out, and they had like the Starburst flavors and this and that. And I was like, all right, I'll take one, whatever. Let me just try it. And it was the marketing work, because ever since then, that's been all I've been wanting. And so it absolutely worked. Shout out to them. And you know anybody from C4 and you want to advertise for Unc's thing, let me know. They say it's a sports and fitness performing energy drink. Just want to throw that out there. Like one day, I gotta get some B12 so my heart doesn't explode. I was like, it's all fun until it does. Robert, I'm just waiting for that Bobby Whitney reference, right? You know what we got to do, Aaron? Every time Robert comes up there, we just got to put a nice drunk Bobby and Whitney photo on the screen, just as a dedication to Robert and everything. So you don't know this, Aaron, because you're young, but there used to be this R&B singer named Bobby Brown. And there used to be and he was married to this woman that I'm serious. Like, he's like, tell me more, Unc. He's like, she's Whitney Houston, and they were like kind of like the biggest people in R&B as far as she's one of the best singers ever. And then I mean, she's sang like the national anthem at a Super Bowl years ago. It's considered one of the best renditions of the national anthem, Bobby. But they also became like this toxic relationship couple. And so it's Bobby and Whitney. And so they were huge. Kind of like imagine like how Travis Kelce is with this whatever her face is, Taylor Swift. It was like that times everything. So anyway, every time I think Bobby, I think about it. Forever they'll be. If we finish the season 10-2, and then to win the Big 12 championship, Malik starts at QB next year over Arch. Sell. I'll sell on that one. I think that's good for this season. I think Sark hits the reset button after next season. Does it give him a good possibility? Potentially, sure. But at the end of the day, he's got to make Arch happy as well. And Malik would just have to ball out to a degree where it made the most sense. So right now, I think what Malik does is good for Malik, and I think what Malik does is good for Malik this season, but not necessarily. I don't know if that's a carryover automatically for next year. I think that I would sell on that one because I think reset button gets hit, and yeah, I think you're going to want to have to give Arch an opportunity to win the job next season. And so I would go with that one. So I'm gonna sell on that one, Robert. I'm gonna sell on that one. What else we got? I know we got a lot more that's in here. Chris Denman, good to see you, Chris. How are you? What's up, Unc? Murphy will play good enough to cause a QB controversy. Buy or sell? Sell. If the QB controversy is him versus Quinn, there will be no controversy. Malik Murphy will come in, do what he needs to do, and Quinn will take the job over when it's time. If you're talking about a QB controversy versus him versus Arch, then I might buy on that one. Because if he goes out and plays good enough, so let's quantify good enough, Chris. Passer rating over 150. Say he's averaging 250 passing. It's a conservative number, by the way. So I'm going to go 250 passing, 275, 2 touchdowns. So let's say it's a 3-game injury. Okay, let's quantify it. Let me get a pen here. We're going to do this in real time. So let you guys think about this. Let me think of the numbers in my head that would need to be cumulative for this to be a controversy. So I'm gonna go 275 in each game passing. Okay, so I'm gonna go. So that's 825 passing, 3 games, 2, 4. Let's go 6 touchdowns. He's going to have some interceptions because he's young. So let's go Let's go. I'll give it two. I'll even give it a. I'll give it a 3-to-1 ratio, a 2-to-1 ratio. So if he does, let's say he does 825 over 3 games, 6 TDs. I'll go 7 TDs. 7 TDs, 3 interceptions, 150 passer rating. I think that's enough for it to now go into the offseason saying to yourself, okay, you got a little bit of a controversy ahead of you. Who should start? Right? I think that's enough. I think something lesser than that, and the wins, by the way, Chris. And you need the wins. Like that has to happen. You do that, sure. But I think what we saw with Seaman Sark is, and I remember, like, you remember when you had Hudson Card and Casey Thompson that were the starting quarterbacks, and you went into the offseason and you thought to yourself, well, maybe one would maybe have the advantage over another, and it didn't really happen, So, and then, you had Hudson Card versus Quinn Ewers, and there were people that thought Hudson Card had the advantage, but at the end of the day, that didn't really matter. So I would say no. I don't think there's enough. There'd be no controversy with Quinn, none. And he had to put up some pretty good numbers, I think, to have a controversy with Arch. So let's do that. Good question, though. It's a really good question, though. Thank you, Chris. That made me really think about that. All right, Mark Anthony in the super chat. The soulful salsa singer Mark Anthony himself. Yeah. Some of you guys might get that one. Sark coach Tua and Jalen. Malik will be ready. Buy or sell. I mean, we're talking about what I mean, I would lean towards buy on that one, Mark. I mean, I'll lean towards buy. I mean, two is obviously, ends up being a first round pick. So we're talking about guys who are standouts in the NFL. But if you were to believe he is the QB whisperer that everyone says that he is, then you would have to buy that he has that quarterback ready to go, especially as he's been in the system for 2 years. So I'll buy on that right now. I won't buy on it because of the Tua and Jalen situation, but I'll just buy on it because Sark is a QB guy, and so I would imagine that he would have that guy ready. So that, yeah, I'll buy on it for that, just more for Sark himself, more so than the Tua and Jalen thing. Go ahead, give me another one. And by the way, I'm texting our guest to make sure he's ready to go. Set. All right, making sure he's good to go. Shook ones, always good to see you, shook ones. We'll see even more of Jonte since Malik has practiced with him the most. Sell. I'll sell on that one. I don't think that it's I know what you're getting at as relates to that, but I mean, you got to also figure out that he's also practiced with a lot of people on who were backups and scout teamers and things to that effect. And I don't necessarily think those guys are going to play more just because, right? You play your best players. And look, y'all, I let me just get ahead of what's about to come. But with these questions about Jonte, at the end of the day, if Steve Sarkeesian wanted Jonte Cook to play more, he would. But when you are 7 games in and you're still asking the same question, it is what it is. It is what it is. You can say Jay Witt is this or that. He shouldn't do that. Doesn't matter. The coach has determined that is going to be his guy that he has, and that Jonte will come in, when he can, and that Jonte will probably get more reps next season. That's just kind of where we are with the whole conversation, the whole situation. So I just want to get ahead of it. So this way I don't have to be too redundant with all my things. So no, I don't think that's going to be the reason why he plays more at all. I think Sark has his guys, and Jonte is a guy that's getting some run, but not necessarily he's going to replace Jay Witt kind of thing. So no. Or even Adonai Mitchell for that as well. So just to kind of throw that in there, either one as it relates to playing time. Big Tex, buy or sell. Sark will go to the Wildcat a lot versus BYU. Sell. I don't think Sark is going to. I think Sark views the Wildcat as his kind of fourth down baby now, right? It's almost like his fourth down baby was having Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat on the team, on the field, or at least Byron Murphy on there, and that was kind of his fourth down baby. And then that stop against Oklahoma happened, when they got those 4 straight stops on the goal line, and now he's just like, all right, I got a new one. I got a new package. I got a new short yardage package, and it's going to be this Wildcat, and we're going to spread the field and let Savion do what he does. So no, I'm not buying on that. I don't see Sark just changing up his game plan and changing up what he does. That's a package for him, but that's not his offense. So I'll sell on that one, Big Tex. Good question though. Good question though. Give me another one. Give me one. Money B in the house. We see less rotation in the secondary this week. I mean, I'll buy on it, but mainly money because they've got a lot of injured guys. I mean, that's the main reason that I'd buy more so than they've come to some sort of epiphany that, hey, this is something that they should do. You've got Jalen Catalon, he's injured. You've got Gavin Holmes is injured. Terrence Brooks is injured. Ryan Watts, he's injured as well. I mean, yeah, that alone will help you cut down on just the number of reps. So I think you see less, but it's more about the numbers than it is, hey, this is a good thing for us to do. I just want to make sure I put that one out there as well. How many? We got some more? We got some more, Aaron? All right, I'm sorry. It's like we got a hell of a lot more. So okay, let's keep doing it. Texas man. It's time for Sarkeesian to hire an offensive coordinator to take some of the pressure off of himself. So I think if you do that, then you kind of acknowledge. First of all, I don't think he's going to do that. Secondly, I don't know if that's a smart idea because he wants to call plays and he wants to be the play caller, and so. What are you going to do? Have a OC called exactly what he wants to do, which is kind of be repetitive. And I just think it opens up a can of worms that you probably really don't want to open up when it's all said and done. So no, I would absolutely sell on that one. Sark is the OC. I mean, he technically has an OC, right? Technically, Kyle Flood is his OC. Technically, okay. But as far as another play caller is concerned, no, that's what he does, and then he's just going to have to figure out how to be great at it. So I'll sell on that. That's his job. The same way that Tom Herman, I'm not quite sure having Tim back made him better, but so and I felt like Tom Herman was probably pretty good when he actually called his own plays. Then he brought in Yurcich, and I don't think Yurcich. I mean, the offense, the numbers were okay, but I don't think it really. I don't know. Not quite sure he did that much better than what Tom could have done. So I'll sell on that whole thing. Good question though. Very good question. I like it. Colby S. And Malik starts 3 games. You're taking the more on 5 passes over 50 yards. Oh, in that 3-game spot? In that 3. Sure. I mean, he's going to get it just because he's got good receivers. And he's going to get it because he's got a hell of an arm. Like, he's going to hit on some of those deep balls. Like, he's going to throw it. I mean, he's going to throw it far. So he's definitely going to do that. But yeah, I'll definitely take the more on that. And yes, Colby, I like how Prize Picks has seeped into your vocabulary. Like, you just said it. You didn't say like, would he have 5 passes or more? You're just like, you're taking the more. Like, I like it. You're just Prize Picks in the brain. How'd you do this weekend? Speaking of Prize Picks, how did you do? How did that go for you? Let me know as far as that is, Colby. I'm kind of curious of that. Good to see you, by the way. I asked about you when you're not here, Colby. I don't know if you know that. So, but yes, I'll go ahead and buy on that one. What else we got? Mark Anthony. Buy or sell. With 5 regular season games left, if Quinn is out 4 weeks, he forgoes the rest of the season to prep for the draft. Mark, all depends on the record. I can't buy or sell on that. I can't do either. It's a push because I need to know what the record is. If you're telling me undefeated, then I'll sell. I'll sell on that one. Undefeated, he comes back, leads his team to a Big 12 championship, and has them in the playoffs. 2 losses, then I'll definitely buy on that one. There's no reason for him to come back to get this team to the Alamo Bowl. Malik can do that. The best thing for him to do is let that shoulder heal. So so it all depends. If the team's in contention, 100% he comes back. No contention, I don't see it. I see him just saving himself and getting ready for the combine. Yeah, I think the combine is at the end of February. So if we're talking about December, closing on December, and he's not 100% healthy, then at that point he's got to say, man, I got to get healthy in December, in January, so I can get all my throwing back in February and be ready to go. So yeah, that's where we're at, Mark Anthony. Appreciate you though. Good question though. Boom, 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 boom. By Torres. This is the Malik dress audition for the transfer portal. Okay, 2 things, Mike. 2 A's in Malik. So that's all everybody out there. And Mike, you're my dude. But let's everybody know 2 A's in Malik Murphy. It's an interesting spelling, but we gotta do 2. Secondly, more importantly, Mike, buy. Absolutely, we'll buy on that one. This is his dress. This is the dress audition for the transfer portal. This is his opportunity to put some things on film for other programs. This is opportunity to have, if he stays, to have his NIL money go up at Texas. This is everything. The next few games are everything for him. So yes, 100% buy on that one. Let's do some more. Okay, Michael Lofton. Ewers will be back next year because his grade won't be better than a 2nd or 3rd day selection. I'll sell on that one, Mike. I think that the film will show that. I think there's something I saw from a completion percentage thing. I want to see if I can find this real quick. I think it was Nash was on. Nash had this. I don't know what has he. Nash, did he talk about this, Aaron, on your show, which was Quinn's stats and the adjusted stats as well? No, but let me see if I can get this for you. Let me see, Aaron. How quickly could you turn this around? Hold on. Let me send this to you real quick. Here, hold on 1 second. This is the only bad part about sometimes being by myself is that there may be a dead space. But let me see, Aaron. Okay, Aaron, I'm gonna send you. I just sent you this and see if Aaron's good. Aaron's good. He's young. Them young people can do all this kind of stuff and do screenshot, bloppity boop, and have this thing up here. I guarantee you. Right, I guarantee you. Let me see. I'm gonna put my stopwatch to it. I already add in like about 10 seconds of this. I guarantee Aaron will have this thing ready to go like in about a minute. But the thing is, I think what's gonna happen, Michael, is that when you look at the stats for Quinn, I think what's going to happen is they're going to look at the stats, they're going to look at the number, they're going to look at the completion percentages, and they're going to say to themselves, you know what? He's good to go. Like they're going to say, like they'd like the numbers that he has, and so I still think I don't think his first round grade is going to go away from anybody. I think maybe there might be some questions about injuries, but that's what the combine is for. That's when you go and get your full diagnosis, your full medical, things to that effect. But damn it, a minute. That's all it took. I have it at 45 seconds by the time I did the clock, and I talked for about 10 seconds before that. So yes, that's how good this guy is. I know it will only take him about a minute to do this. Check this out. Quinn Ewers' adjusted completion percentage versus Houston was 92%, removing the throwaways and deflected passes. So then at that point, he would have been 23 or 25 on the day. And then he's been at a 92.3% or 96/104 adjusted completion the last 4 weeks. Losing for any period of time is going to hurt most likely. So does that give you a kind of idea as to how good Quinn has been? Because that gives you an idea of like how good Quinn has been. Then yeah, I think when it's all said and done, I think first round grade is all about it, Mike. And I don't think he's going to get anything than that going forward. So want to make sure you have that. Let's do one more, and then we'll do a quick break before we bring in Greg, because Greg is already kind of chilling back there. So Mark Anthony, he goes on tour. He goes ahead and leaves things in the chat. Mark Anthony, the life without J-Lo is tough. I get it. You got things that you need to do. So you got a super chat that's coming in here. Buy or sell. Quinn returns in 2024. Okay, I'm going to sell on that one if I even continue to go forward. Hard to think an NFL GM would take him with the inability to take a hit at the next level. Quinn stays and Malik transfers. I sell on that one. First and foremost, that's what I say, Mark. Like that, the combine is for that. Like the combine is that thing that you do where you go and they poke and prod you. They're able to get the medicals on you. And as long as it gets cleared, the thing is about NFL teams, I'm going to tell you about this, Mark. The thing about NFL teams, like all coaches, they all think they can get something out of a player than more so than the previous coach was able to do. Like that. That's just the thing. They all have egos. They all believe they're greater than somebody else. And so they all believe like, hey, so on and so forth. Oh, we'll add weight to him. We'll do these kind of things. We'll have an offensive line that'll protect him. Like, so no, I don't. If Quinn, I don't see that happening. And so I think Quinn's out. But that's just my belief. Even with the injuries, I think they're going to feel like he's got enough on film to be okay. So good question, Mark. All right, let's do this. Aaron, let's do a quick break, and then we'll come back. We're going to bring in Greg and just catch up on what's going on that side of BYU. Big game coming in. He's the voice of BYU, and so I'm looking forward to all the information. We're about to get smarter. Come on, y'all. I went to public school just like you did. So some of us, we need some education. We need somebody to make us smarter, and Greg's going to do that as soon as we come back for this break, and we're going to learn all about BYU and everything that's going on over there. So you guys do not go anywhere. Be right back in about like 2 minutes.
This Orange Bloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the biggest UT football stars of the last decade. Bijan Robinson was a 5-star prospect by Rivals when he signed with the Longhorns, finishing as the nation's number 18 overall prospect, the second best prospect in the state of Arizona, and the number 1 running back in the country, according to Rivals.com. Upon retrospect, it's kind of amazing that former running backs coach Stan Drayton was able to land Robinson when you consider that Ohio State was perceived as a massive leader for much of his recruitment. In fact, on the day he committed, Rivals.com recruiting analyst Adam Gorney told Orange Bloods, quote, even after the Atlanta 5-star challenge, it almost felt like Ohio State was the foregone winner, Gorney said that day. But as it got closer, I think the realization that he would basically be going across the country to play football kind of set in. He really, really liked Texas and USC a lot, had connections to both schools, liked the staffs and how they would use him, and wound up finding a school closer to home that he was very happy with. It wasn't until Robinson visited Texas on an unofficial visit for the spring game in April that Texas began to make it surge. By the time June rolled around, a couple of months later, the Longhorns had emerged as a team to beat in his recruitment. Robinson was a part of a 2020 recruiting class that finished 14th in the nation that year in the Rivals.com rankings, and what turned out to be the final full recruiting class for Tom Herman. A few years later, and there's not a ton of meat on the bone with respects to the elite prospects from that year outside of Robinson. Jake Majors and Jaron Thompson remain as a few of the higher ranked players in that class, but it's actually two of the lower ranked prospects in the class, Jahdae Barron and Jalen Ford, that have made the biggest impact as the class begins to wrap up its contribution to the Texas football program.
Yeah, that same Bijan Robinson who was in my starting lineup for fantasy football this weekend and gave me a whopping 0.3 points. I didn't know it was possible to get below a 1 for a running back in fantasy football, but yet somehow that happened and I had to take an L. So thanks for that recruiting flashback, aka depressing fantasy football note. Okay, speaking of notes, let's get smarter. Let's get more educated. Let's go to our Speakeasy Lounge and let's bring in Greg, the voice of BYU, and let's find out everything that we need to know about those Cougars. Let's go do it. Good morning to you, Greg. How are you?
Anwar, I'm well. Good morning to you.
Good. Glad to see it. Hey, Greg. All right. I want to make sure I'm a person that tries to be particular with names. Is it Wrubell for the last name? I want to make sure I get you correct.
It's Wrubell.
Wrubell. Okay. Nonetheless. All right. Aaron, is there a little bit of delay on that side? Okay. So there's a little bit of a delay on our end. So just don't worry about it. If I come in a little bit, so I'll make sure I stagger it out a little bit for you. Greg Rubel, obviously the voice of BYU. Greg, help me out with this team because I'm not quite sure what to make out of BYU. They start off strong, have the win against Arkansas, that 38-31 victory. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, don't know what to make out of this team. This team might be really, really good. Then Kansas happens, but they rebound with the win against Cincinnati. But then TCU happens, and that was 44-11. Rebound against Tech. Help me out. What am I looking at is when we talk about this BYU team.
Yeah, well, they're a 5-2 team with some deficiencies and some efficiencies. Where they're deficient right now is in a lot of the offensive stats. They don't rack up a lot of yards. They're scoring just an okay number of points. The run game lags. What BYU does really well is take care of the football, score in the red zone when they get a chance, and win the field position battle. And if you're not a juggernaut, you better do those things well. And BYU's doing those things well. That's how you get to 5-2. Now, they have beat an 0-7 Sam Houston team, an FCS team, an Arkansas team on a 6-game losing streak, a Cincinnati team on a 5-game losing streak, and then Texas Tech, who's been kind of up and down. Texas Tech Arkansas felt like the best win, but I'm not sure where Arkansas is going to be the rest of the year. But you go into SEC country and win, that's still pretty solid. And then Texas Tech, I think, we all saw where they were picked, I think, to finish fourth in the Big 12 to begin the year. And they've underperformed. But, that's still a solid win this past Saturday night. Kind of had the game in control from the start. Red Raiders were down to a third-string quarterback in that game. And a theme right now, Anwar, is that BYU is getting back-to-back-to-back backup quarterbacks. In fact, all 3 games in October against the 3 Texas Big 12 teams that they have on the schedule, Josh Hoover who did really well as a backup against BYU. Jake Strong, the third stringer, did not do as well. And then yeah, you're going to probably see Malik Murphy here on Saturday. So BYU's gotten the backup quarterbacks, but I think that it's going to be a checkered past, let's say. BYU's history against backup quarterbacks, some they do well against, and some just tend to have great games.
Help me out as well with that one as well, because you're right. You know, as you know, that Malik Murphy is the guy that we're expecting to start. You know, against BYU. But what I'm trying to understand though is when I look at the numbers for BYU, and I'm going strictly off of numbers, so I'm hoping you can take me a little bit behind the scenes. 11th as far as the rank, as far as the total offense is concerned. But then as far as the defense is concerned, it's 14th actually. So, but they still have the 5 wins. So again, it's like the only number that counts at the end of the day is the win column, right? But what's been happening? What's been some of this kind of the challenges on the offensive and the defensive side for the ball for this team?
Well, yeah, I mean it's the old Al Davis philosophy, right? And that's where BYU's at right now. It's just win, baby, and they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. And I thought going into the year, if BYU could be a bowl team in its first year in the Big 12, that would be a nice first step as a power conference member. And look how the other 3 conference newcomers are doing right now. The bottom of the league, there's just 1 win between the 3 of them. The Houston Wild win over West Virginia. And BYU is the only newcomer with multiple wins in league. So they're doing a couple of things that show that they're in a decent starting spot, let's say. But yeah, they're 5-2 with some holes. And the run game is in the bottom 5 nationally, and they finally had a good game against the run. In fact, 150 yards against Texas Tech. 150 is a good number for BYU. If the Cougs can get to 150 or above, that's a good place to be. But they were averaging around 68 rush yards per game before this past Saturday. So rush game's got to come along, but we think it's going to in these parts in part because of the return of Aidan Robbins. Aidan Robbins was a 1,000-yard back last year at UNLV, began the season banged up. They shut him down for a month. He's back, ran the ball better, looked better this past week. LJ Martin is a true freshman out of El Paso, has been good. Those are 2 good guys to start with. Deion Smith, the Colorado transfer, Miles Davis, a holdover. It's a good running back room that has underperformed in the rush numbers. But again, I think the thought was this past week was a nice first step toward really kind of getting the run game going a little bit. So that's an area where BYU struggles right now, is to run the football. They struggle to get home defensively. The defensive coordinator, Jay Hill, shared with me yesterday that he thought that he read that BYU was a top 20 team in quarterback hits, but yet BYU is a bottom 10 team in sacks and a bottom 10 team in TFLs. So they're getting there, but they're not getting home, and they've got to do that more. They had no sacks of Jake Strong on the weekend. That has to change. What BYU does really well at is taking the ball away. The Cougars are 4th nationally in turnovers gained and 3rd nationally in turnover margin. Back to what I said before, Anwar, if you're not a powerful offensive team, if you're not going up and down the field, if you're not scoring 35 to 40 a game, you'd better do the other things really well, the things that help you win football games. And BYU's doing that. They take care of it. They take it away. They're a really good red zone team, and they've got a great punter and play complementary football to the point where they win field position pretty consistently game to game. That's what you've got to do to win games if you're not just, the greatest show on turf.
Yeah. So when Texas fans think about BYU and they think about the quarterback, there's always the nightmares of Taysom Hill, right? that is like the thing that has happened. I don't think Kendon Slovis is Taysom Hill, obviously, because Taysom Hill was obviously a special QB, but he's been productive. And so what's Kendon been doing this season for you?
All right, Kedon Slovis is not Taysom. He's not Taysom Hill, but he's not any kind of running quarterback. That's not who he is. So yes, BYU and Longhorn fans certainly aware of the record. Texas is 1-4 all time against BYU. The last two games came with Taysom Hill at quarterback, 2013 and 2014, and he just ran amok. He had 6 rushing touchdowns in those 2 games. But no, what BYU
and infamously jumped over a guy.
Yeah, the hurdle.
The hurdle into the touchdown is that everyone still remembers that.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic, and I was fortunate to call that one a DKR. It was a pretty cool moment for Cougar Nation. So BYU over the last decade or so has played with 2 styles of quarterback, and when they've looked their best, it's been with the mobile quarterbacks: Taysom Hill, Zach Wilson, Jaron Hall. Not coincidentally, all 3 guys are on NFL rosters right now. Taysom Hill makes headlines seemingly every week for something he's doing with the Saints. Zach Wilson starts for the Jets, and Jaron Hill is Kirk Cousins' backup in Minnesota. So the 3 mobile quarterbacks BYU had over the last decade, BYU really tended to excel with them, and they're playing at the next level. In that time, they've had 2 more prototypical pocket gunslinger, not running quarterbacks: Tanner Mangum and now Keaton Slovis. And BYU's tended to have dips offensively in those years. Conclusion: BYU succeeds more with a quarterback that's more of a threat with his legs, and that's what we're seeing this year right now. But Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator, knew what he was getting with Keaton Slovis. He knew he was getting a prototypical throwing quarterback. So Keaton's numbers need to come up. But one of the reasons that maybe BYU struggled to the extent they have is that it's been only the throw game that they've had to rely on. Not only do not have quarterback run, but they haven't had the traditional run game. And so when you combine the lack of the traditional run game with a more prototypical pocket quarterback and maybe slower cohesion with all the new parts they've had to use, because when I haven't talked about this, there was a big 3 wide receiver trio coming back into this year: Chase Roberts, Cody Epps, Keanu Hill. Well, Cody Epps and Keanu Hill have been non-factors due to injury, so they've had to bring out new weapons to assist Chase Roberts. So that whole cohesion component with the run game struggles and the more prototypical pass game, it's been a little slower developing, and the offense, I think, has struggled to an extent as a result. Yet you're sitting at 5-2 because they've done just enough things right to camouflage some weaknesses and accentuate the positives. But Keaton Slovis is not Taysom Hill. Keaton Slovis is a stand in the pocket, get it downfield quarterback. Now, he can move around a bit. He has 3 rushing touchdowns this year, but for his career, he's a minus yardage rusher. He's ended all of his years at USC and Pitt negative yardage rushing. Whereas the last 5 years, BYU quarterbacks have averaged 300 rushing yards per season. Okay, so they're going from expecting some to now getting none and having to work with that.
Greg Rubel, who's the voice of BYU. Greg, tell me how Sarkeesian is viewed amongst those at BYU. We obviously know that Sarkeesian, played there. He had success while he was at BYU. Does this make does playing against him and him playing against his old team? Does that mean anything to the BYU faithful or anything to that effect, or do they view it as kind of just another game?
No, I mean, I can speak for myself and the people that I hang with, and he's embraced. I mean, I've been a big fan his entire career. Have followed every stop, and this isn't the first time he's coached against BYU. He was a head coach at Washington when he played against BYU, and he's been a coordinator at other schools and coached against. So he's had this experience of going against his old team multiple times in his career. So it's not a new thing. But every time it happens, we talk about it because he's a former Coug, and I think he's embraced. I think Cougar Nation loves him, and he's been a busy guy with multiple other jobs over the years. But I think BYU fans really want him to lean into that connection he has to BYU. When they hear him talk fondly about BYU, their hearts are warm because they love the feel that Steve wants to still feel a part of BYU. He may not be around a lot like other alumni, but again, he's got his own thing and has had his own thing going on for a long, long time. But I was the sideline reporter for the radio crew back in 95 and 96 when he was playing at BYU. I was still a relatively young broadcaster at the time, but I really enjoyed being around him. And he brought BYU a lot of success in those 2 years, including a 14-1 season in 1996. And again, every stop he's been on, I've tracked him and followed him and wished him the best. In fact, his first professional stop after BYU was as a quarterback with the Saskatchewan Roughriders of the CFL. And as someone who grew up in Saskatchewan, as I did, I loved that about him. And I remember on my old talk show I had back in the day, late 90s, interviewing Steve from Saskatchewan as he started his job with the Roughriders. And again, always had an eye on him, think the world of him. I got to have a quick handshake and a hello at media days in Arlington earlier this summer when he came in with the Texas entourage. And so I think Cougar Nation loves him. Cougar Nation embraces him. Cougar Nation wishes him the best every game but Saturday. And when they hear him talk about BYU, again, fondly, I think they really enjoy
that. Greg, if finish this sentence for me, if BYU was to win this game on Saturday, what would have happened? What would have occurred in your mind if BYU ends up would win this game on Saturday?
They would have by far and away their best win of the season, a signature win, bowl eligibility, and some kind of bizarre mastery over Texas at 5-1 is what would happen. A lot of things would have to go right on this one, but if there's going to be any kind of equalizing factors, BYU will take him, right? And so getting a quarterback, making his first start with a minimum of reps going into it, well, you'll take that if you're BYU. I mean, you'll take any advantage you can get. And it may not be a true advantage because Malik Murphy's a heck of a quarterback and Arch is a heck of a quarterback, but fact remains they are seeing live starter fire, for the first time. And BYU's defensive coordinator, Jay Hill, would be negligent if he weren't scheming to confuse a relatively new quarterback in that position. And so that's something I'm curious to see. What does that look like? Sark himself said it yesterday. BYU is going to put some things out there Saturday that aren't on tape. And they'd have to, right? You want to do something different against a quarterback who can only prepare for what he's seen from you and really can't prepare for what it's like to be a starting quarterback at this level. So that brings a little bit of intrigue into things. And reverting back to the point I made, if BYU can play a clean game, a turnover-free game, an efficient game inside the 20, you might just be in that game. And again, the odds say this won't be close, but we saw this past weekend, including UT's game with Houston, a game that wasn't supposed to be close. They got pretty close. Oklahoma's game wasn't supposed to be close. It got pretty close. Week to week in the Big 12, we're seeing stuff that we didn't think we'd see. So, as is always, we're just curious to see how it all shakes out.
The very last thing I'll let you go, Greg, is you did point to it. One game away from bowl eligibility, going into the season. What was your expectations for this team in their first season in the Big 12? And I'm kind of curious, have they met your expectations? Have they exceeded them? And I'm just kind of curious as the vibe on how this program, finally being in a conference, what's been the vibe on, what this season has been looking like so far?
Well, Cougar Nation has been looking forward to this for 2 years since the announcement, but really it's been much longer than that, the anticipation of getting into a power conference. And so that alone is such a stamp of affirmation, and you're in the club, and it means everything to the Cougar fan base that BYU is now at a power conference level and will stay there because BYU felt for a long time like it deserved that kind of recognition. It kind of looked and acted like a P5 team, but they didn't have the membership. Now that they have it, I think the future looks really bright that way, and Cougar Nation has been really enthused about that membership. But this season now, in terms of expectation, if BYU were to get 6 wins by 8 or 9 games in, then I think you'd almost say that might be an exceeding of expectations. My expectation was for BYU to get to a bowl game in its first year, meaning at least 6 wins. You'd certainly take more than that, but I think 6 would be a good starting spot. BYU would look for more and wants more, but that's a pretty good baseline. So in some ways, with 5 wins in 7 games, expectations have been exceeded. But then if you look down to the numbers and look at the offense and how things are going, they maybe not been as high as expected, but you balance it all out and say you're a win away from a bowl game, and that's just a fact. So to that extent, I think it's been a so-so start, and in some ways more than so-so. I think it was a good place to begin from. Let's put it that way for BYU. So again, there's a lot of things to work on, and they've got 5 more regular season games to do it, but they're not in the worst spot right now. And again, middle of the pack in the Big 12. Some winnable games, I think, still on the schedule. They're okay. They're okay.
Yeah. As you return to Austin, very, very last question. What's the spot that you're dying to hit up? The spot that you were last here and you said to yourself, whenever I come back to Austin, I'm going here. Do you have like an eating spot, a watering hole, anything like that?
It's been long enough, right? I think it was 2014 was our last. It's been 9 years. I did hit a great barbecue spot, and I'm not going to make Texas fans happy because I'm not going to remember the name of it. But I do think I'm scheduled to go to an event. I think it's at La Barbecue on Friday night.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm scheduled to stop by an event Friday night there, which I look forward to. I'm kind of like I'm not the world's most I'm not even adventurous. I'm just not the coolest eater. I let people down all the time because I love traveling and I love eating, but I'm not always at the hot spot. Now sometimes I'll hit one. We were at Arkansas. We went to Wright's Barbecue, which I think is the place to go to, and that's a place people hear about. I did go there. Back in the Alabama days, you go to Dreamland. There's some places that I'll hit that you're supposed to go to, but a lot of times I let people down because I don't go to the place you're supposed to go. But I'll try and get somewhere good. I think I'm going somewhere good Friday night. And the funny thing is, the Austin trips aren't going to be as frequent because UT's booking into the SEC. So it won't be an annual thing. I'll probably end up flying into Austin to get to Waco more often than not. But this won't be a regular thing like maybe it might have been.
Yeah, well, then Greg, then this is the time that you have to take advantage of it, and you've got to kind of go outside the norm and find something different. And that's so you got your La Barbecue. That's probably a decent place for you. You've got to at least find a good taco truck in the morning, something for breakfast to hit. So I'll send you a couple of recommendations.
You've got my cell. You know how to text me. So I'll take your recommendation.
Okay. Greg Rubel, he's the voice of BYU. I told you guys were going to get a little bit smarter this morning. So thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate all your insight. And I will text you a couple of recommendations of places to go.
I appreciate you, Anwar. It was a pleasure being with you. Thanks for the invitation. And look forward to Saturday. Should be a fun afternoon in DKR.
You can say go Cougs. It's okay. I won't want to get mad at you.
Go Cougs.
All right, there you go. Greg Rubel, appreciate him joining the show. All right, guys, let's do a quick break. When we come back, I'll finish up a little bit on the buy or sell. I've got some things to talk about as far as Malik Murphy. I've got some social media standouts. Jason Suchomel is coming up. We're just getting started, baby. Go do your shots. Aaron, I can't tell you how many shots they have to do, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Go ahead, get it in, get lit. Don't worry about what your boss has to say. Shot time, baby. We'll be right back.
Do you think Sark gets ultra conservative, or will he let Malik throw it on first and second downs to keep defenses honest? It's Malik's show. What kind of show are we going to get, Anwar?
First of all, thank you. I do remember meeting Lucius and having a good conversation with him, so I definitely do appreciate that. He's watched the shows for years and stuff, so thank you so much for that. It's going to be interesting, Lucius. I wish I can handicap it at this moment. There's a part of me that kind of feels like Sark is who he is, and he's going to try to do what he feels like he can, what he normally does. And I don't think he's going to want to try to make himself one-dimensional by any stretch of imagination. This is the same person when a deep ball wasn't working last year. He still kept throwing it. Like, he never stopped. So I look at this. I look at him that says, look, we look at Sark's resume. Sark's going to do him. What he says, hey, I'm going to take risks. We're going to be up tempo, high powered offense. Like, I'm going to do all that. So I don't expect him to dial it back, to be quite honest with you. Now there's an argument that can be made. was he should or shouldn't. But at the end of the day, I don't see him, especially going against BYU, his former school, him telling himself, I'm just going to run the ball 50 times. Like, I don't see that catch. I don't, there's nothing about that sees that. And, if that, but so, no, I don't think he's going to get ultra conservative. I don't see that. I don't see that on his resume at all. Shot time, baby. How many you guys lit? You just go ahead, get your Blanco tequilas and go ahead and do your shots. Hell, hey, actually, Aaron, now might be the best time to tell them about specs because after today, like when you guys put it out there, it's time for you to hit up specs because you guys already know the deal. You have to do some shots. And if there's a place for you to go, Specs has got it. They've got the best prices. They've got tons of locations. They've got the best in wines. They got the best in spirits. They got the best in beers. They got the best snacks that are out there. You can have delivery that's out there. But yes, I think the NBA season gets started tonight, Aaron, right? So NBA season is getting kicked off. So for all you guys are getting ready to watch your favorite teams that are out there, sit back, relax, have a drink or drinks or multiple, and get ready for the good people at Specs. This is a perfect time to go check out Specs. Let's check it out.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right. Scott Shy Fraser said, y'all taking shots and I ain't taking nothing. I'll be damned if I get drunk alone. Hey, I mean, I gotta finish the show, Shy. Like I gotta finish it. And if I did as many as I'm supposed to do, I probably won't get more than 20 minutes done. I literally won't get more than 20 minutes done. And I'm an older person. So now, if you know anything about older people who drink, they fall asleep. When you're young and you drink like that, you got energy. You keep going for days. Like, I mean, you just hours. Like it doesn't phase you. When you're older though, man, you just knock out. So I'm just saying. But I do appreciate Greg Rubel for coming in and giving us some really good BYU information, give us good stuff there. It's I appreciate you guys being patient. There was a little bit of a lag there, but we were able to make that thing work. And so at least we were able to learn more about BYU. I mean, let's be honest with you, you ain't watching a ton of BYU games, so it's good to get some expert insight into them and that team and everything that they have going on. So shout out to Greg. I appreciate him. By the way, I don't live. Last thing I want to say, and I'll probably talk a little Malik for right now. I don't live in downtown Austin. So for those of you guys who are in that area, if I was going to recommend a good breakfast place for him in Austin, say I live out in Cedar Park, right? So clearly I'm not driving into Austin for breakfast. But if I had to recommend a good breakfast place for him to get up and get out the hotel, what's the go-to spot? Is there a truck in the downtown Austin area? Because I don't want to have to drive 45 minutes to something. So what's the spot that I should tell Greg to go to that's got the best food, that's going to be the best representation? Okay, hold on. I want to write this down. I don't even know how to say that. Taverna? Taverna? Okay. What is Blue Star? Is that a joke or not? I don't know. There might be some old school like La Pleasures reference or something to that effect that I don't know that I might be messing up on. So and someone else says Magnolia. Taco Deli is pretty good, but the thing is they have Taco Deli in the press box on game days, so I don't want to send them having to have Taco Deli twice. So what else you guys are saying right here? Let's see. Salt Lake, I see Stars Seed close to downtown. I mean, yeah, he's downtown. He probably doesn't have a car, more than likely, or he may or may not have one. Okay, now that I'm not okay, guys, I wish we can get a consensus here. I appreciate it. These are really good things here. So I got Stella saying Jack is really good. Look at you guys with all your recommendations. Also see a Magnolia Cafe on South Congress. That's a good one too, right? Because he gets a chance to see a little bit more of South Congress as well. Someone saying maybe close. No, clearly no to Rick's Cabaret, and clearly we don't need him at Rick's Cabaret at 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what that looks like, but I can't imagine it's good. I can't imagine a strip club with the lights on is really a good place for anybody in there. And so, all right. And then I see a couple others. Someone said 1886 Cafe at the Driscoll Hotel. Ooh, all right. 1886 Cafe at. You guys, thank you for the recommendations. I appreciate that. He's a good dude. I want to make sure he's actually such a nice dude that I felt bad. I felt bad if I would clown him for mispronouncing my name. I felt bad. He was such a nice guy. I was like, I gotta let that one go. He seems like a nice dude. So I appreciate it. One thing I felt bad, and I'll tell you one thing I felt bad about when I asked him about like, hey, what's your favorite like go-to eating spot or your favorite watering hole? And I realized that they don't really do a lot of drinking out there in that state. Like that's not really what they're known for. So then that was the only part I felt about. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like I don't know like what his religious affiliation was. I was hoping I didn't offend him at all. But I know that's a place where I guess when you go to, Aaron, like it's really hard to find like alcohol in places that are out there. So he's probably not. But then again, what better place if you're going to go to Austin? If you're going to go and backslide and have no one know about it, like why not come to Austin? Like, no one's gonna know, right? So then again, it's you and you're in God, and so because if then then God knows, and then you probably get in a lot more trouble that way. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. Texas man, like I asked him about drinking, I was like, ooh, that's probably not the best. That probably wasn't the best question to ask him, but I don't know. I didn't want to prejudge, but also probably need to be a little bit smarter. So he works for BYU, but I don't necessarily know if he is a Mormon or not. So I don't know, but he didn't get offended. So hopefully he's not offended. So, but yes, absolutely. Shadow stays in the ATS. Yeah, maybe he needs to go out to Rick's Cabaret. Maybe he's going to go out there on a Friday night. He's just not going to tell anybody. He's going to be out there spending that cougar money, looking for cougars. Steiner Steakhouse. That's what's up. No, Zio _. No. I'm not sending him all the way out there for that. I can't. We got to do that. All right. Now you guys have got me sidetracked, and that's too easy to do. So I got to get myself. Damn it! When you guys get me sidetracked, it takes a good 5 minutes to get back on topic. So now let me get myself back in here. Let me get myself in here because we're gonna talk Malik Murphy. I'm going to try to ignore you guys in the chat. I'm going to talk Malik Murphy because you guys are going to just have me all kinds of everywhere of the different places that he can go. Like I said, there's a lot of pleasures. I'm like, he's right by the stadium. That's a Jason Suchomel mentioned that place as well. The place is odd. I would not go in there, but nonetheless, it's there. Malik Murphy. Let's talk about him for a second. It's about 5 seconds. I mean, for a hot minute, we're gonna sit down and relax. Hit the like button if you can. But we're gonna have a conversation about Malik. And again, one of the things I kind of alluded to before that I wanted to make sure I kind of circle back to is that there'll be the conversations of quarterbacks this week. You can talk yourself into thinking or believing that, hey, you may see some arch, but Malik ends up probably being the starter when it's all said and done. That's the full expectations going into that Malik will be the starter. And so when I started thinking about it, I tried to kind of take a step back and started thinking about like the 10 ways and the 10 things that kind of 10 ways for Malik Murphy to be successful heading into this game, and how important that would be. So I was talking about like the 10 keys for Malik Murphy's success. And I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear everyone saying like, "Hey, Malik is just going to be fine." Like, good morning to your author, and I hear all of that. I don't want to ever take anything for granted as relates to backups. I don't want to ever just tell myself like this guy's going to be fine. I think we've said that before as relates to backups, and sometimes it's been true, and sometimes it hasn't. Sometimes you just think to yourself, there's not going to be a drop off, and then sometimes it ends up being that way. Sometimes you think one thing, and sometimes you think you're another. Like sometimes people thought Hudson Card was supposed to be the guy for the job, and it really wasn't. It was actually Casey Thompson, right? But then when it's all said and done, Quinn Ewers ended up being really kind of the mad man for the job. Sometimes it flashes in the pan, right? Because we saw Gerard Hurd at one point, and we thought to ourselves, like, look at this guy, look how amazing it is, and then it kind of tapered off when it's all said and done. Some people thought that Tyrone Swoops might be okay. Then it wasn't. There was a big battle between Tyrone Swoops, and everyone said, well, Shane Buechele is going to be the starting quarterback. Everything's going to be fine. And at the end of the day, Shane Buechele wins the starting quarterback position, and Texas finishes 5-7 and then lose against Kansas. You get what I'm saying? I don't ever want to. I've done this too long, and I covered this team too long to ever just to myself say, man, quarterback's going to come in. Everything's going to be all right. Doesn't always work out that way. Now, I have optimism that everything's going to be all right as relates to Malik Murphy. I have optimism about that. And I have optimism around Sark getting him prepared. But I won't just come in and just say it's a done deal. So here's the things I think there's 10. I've kind of identified has been the 10, I think, keys to Malik Murphy having success. And I'll give you the first one. The first one is rallying around Malik Murphy. And I have a couple of layers to this one as relates to, for this is great for everyone's like, where's your football conversation? This is all football for a while. The rally around Malik Murphy, and this is the reasons why. There's a couple of things. I'll start from a team standpoint, and now I'm going to go to an individual standpoint as relates to Malik. When it's all said and done, we start talking about playing at a high level, the team itself, your Longhorns themselves, are still alive, not only in the Big 12 race, but in the playoff race. This is still a team that is ranked 7th in the AP poll and 7th in the coaches poll. If there's the 6 teams that ranked ahead of them that don't have losses. So Texas is still kind of on the outside looking into that one. But they're still looking. They still can look. They're still on the porch. There's still the opportunity that is there. So when you have the backup quarterback coming in, there's not a situation where this team is 4-3 and you just say, all right, let's see what happens. If you're a player on this team, you tell yourself, man, you still got an opportunity. You still have an opportunity in order to make this thing happen, in order to pull this thing off. Not only from a small picture, but from a big picture standpoint. The coaches, you still have the opportunity. This program is still there. And so this is one of those rare things where, hey, Steve Sarkeesian, get your guy ready because there's 5 games left. And if you can get them through the next 3 or 4 games and hold down the fort until Quinn gets back, all of a sudden, this thing can still, all the magic of the season can still happen. All the magic of the season can still occur. Brett McMurphy came out with, his projections on Sunday, his bowl projections. He still has Texas going to the Sugar Bowl to face Georgia in New Orleans. He still has us partying in New Orleans the entire week. Boy, we do that. I don't know where we got to do a remote show. We'll definitely, if they're in New Orleans that week, I'll definitely find a place, a bar somewhere, and we'll do a remote show somewhere. We'll do a drunk unk in New Orleans that night. Like that will go down. Like I'll find a spot, I'll get it set up, and we will definitely do in New Orleans at some spot, and we will definitely get it in. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to make that thing work. But it's a great opportunity for the team, for the team itself. But this is kind of goes back to one of the super chat questions that someone had asked me earlier about, is this a kind of a transfer portal or audition for Malik? Yes, because it's a great opportunity for Malik. It's a great opportunity for him because there's only wins that happen for Malik when it's all said and done. The win is, hey, he put some good tape out there that helps him with this program next season and gives him the advantage in the quarterback race against Arch in 2024. That's a great thing to have. That's a great thing to have and a great opportunity for him. You look at what Casey Thompson was able to do when he came in the second half of the Alamo Bowl when Sam Ehlinger sustained his injury, right? And because of that second half, that kind of gave Casey at least a little bit of an advantage until Hudson Card overtook him in the fall. But then it was enough for him to come back to him, right? But that was enough film for him to have, not only in that game, but the other ones, in order to be able to really continue transferring and continue playing throughout his career. So it's a great opportunity for Malik if he stays, but it's also a great opportunity if all parties involved decide, you know what, we're going with Arch next year, and we'll give you a good endorsement going to another program, right? And so it's a great opportunity for Malik. And so if everyone's able to rally behind him, then that it works for everyone, and everyone is able to have success. There's number 2, which is creating a game plan around Murphy's strengths. And this is one thing that Sarkeesian talked to about yesterday. One of the things he alluded to yesterday, the things that have kind of become important. He said kind of like, hey, it's not about putting a bunch of things on him and then throwing a pop quiz on the Saturday and saying to see like, hey, can this guy pass it? It's about really saying, hey, this is what we know you can do. This is the quarterback that we know who you are. These are your strengths. These are your weaknesses, and let's play to them. Let's play to your strengths. We're not trying to trick you. We're not trying to trip you up. But hey, let's develop a game plan that says this is what you do well, and so this is what we're not expecting you to do everything that Quinn did because you're a different quarterback than Quinn. Some of you guys have asked a question about Malik. I saw it in chats, and Malik as a runner. Malik's not a runner. He's not. That is not what he does. He's not, Quinn's faster than him. This is kind of where it's at. He's a big pocket passer. But for those of you guys who are getting out, who think to yourself like, "Ooh, you're going to see him," he's not a dual threat quarterback. That's just not what he is. It's not what he does, right? So, if you develop a game plan that plays to his strengths, then suddenly you're putting yourself in a good situation and a good position in order to pull off a victory. Number 3, and this is where I think this one is important for me. Emphasize the need for some touch on some of those passes. And Malik, if I could say anything to Malik, and if his people are listening, and I'm sure they are, I love that Malik has a cannon. I love that he can throw the hell out of the ball. I love that he can hit you, and he can break a hand and then beat you in the chest and all this kind. I love that that ball can get there like that. But as you guys know in football, not every pass needs to be at 70 miles an hour. There's some passes that need to have some touch. There's some passes that need to have some arc. There's sometimes you got to drop it into a bucket, right? And you got to get over a defender in order to make that thing happen. And so you can't just necessarily just fastball. Every pass can't be a fastball. And so if he could just develop just some touch on those passes and say, all right, Malik, we know you got an arm, but we need you to be a quarterback. To your point, Texas, man, can you throw a changeup? That's the thing that I need with Malik. When I think about him having success, and we think about that spring game, it was great, but the majority of those completions are fastballs. When you think about the incompletion against Adonai Mitchell on against Houston, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, you gotta put them a little better. That was a bad pass, man. Like you gotta do better than that. And so that's the thing for me. Fastball, no, you can do that. But Texas man, you're absolutely correct. Can you throw the changeup? I'm gonna remember that and attribute that to you, Texas man, because that's a missing word that in sentence that I needed. Number 4 for me, it's real simple. Rely on the run game. Don't need to overthink it. No need to overthink it. Don't overthink it. Here's what needs to happen. You rely on a guy like Jonathan Brooks. He leads the Big 12 conference in rushing. He ranks 6th in the nation and is averaging 142.43 all-purpose yards per game. He's rushed for 825 rushing yards per game. Real simple. That's it. You run Jonathan Brooks. Well, they know the run's coming. Okay, that's cool. But you know what? This is a team that bragged about that final 7 minutes against Alabama and how they were able to run out the clock and how they're able to utilize the run game and how they're able to put the Alabama away on the road. And even though Alabama may have known what was coming, they still asserted their will, right? That's what needs to occur. That's exactly what needs to occur in this game. Use Jonathan Brooks, use CJ Baxter. Don't overthink it. It just is what it is. And let them do. It's kind of like when we saw what Texas was able to do when they just ran the ball towards the end. Yeah, so be it. When they got the shortened field and decided they're just going to run those running backs, so be it. See if they can stop them. If it's ground and pound. It is what it is. There's number 5. Number 5 is this. A tight end and is a young QB's best friend. You know football, you understand this. You understand this concept. It's one of these things that, you play fantasy football. If you want to have a tight end that succeeds, that's not named Travis Kelce, find yourself a young quarterback. Let that be your safety valve. And that's the thing with him. Hey, you're going to want to fire the ball down the field. You get that, right? But not at the end of the day, if you got Ja'Tavion Sanders as your check down, so be it. If you got Ja'Tavion Sanders and it's just short passes, so be it. That's all right. 4 yards, 5 yards, whatever it is, you take that, you move the ball down the field, but don't feel like, again, a quarterback is hitting every single thing. A quarterback isn't necessarily just saying fastballs. It's like, hey, I got 3 yards here, I got 5 yards here, I got 4 yards here. And so in finding a Ja'Tavion Sanders when he's out there, finding a Gunnar Helm when he's out there, those things are the things that need to happen as well. So a tight end is a young QB's best friend. Go ahead and give me another one. Number 6, the defense needs to take pressure off of Murphy. I find that to be very important. Hold on a second. I find that to be very important that this defense has to take some pressure off of him. Aaron, you have some stats that I have, and there's some offensive stats that we could show. Why don't we start with where the rankings are here? Now let's look at the total offense in the Big 12 as of right now. Thank you, Aaron. If you look at where the rankings are, go all the way down to 14. All the way down. That's BYU's offense right there. Look at the discrepancy right now when we talk about yards per game, okay? Look at where UCF is at nearly 500 yards per game. Look at Oklahoma, where they're at, nearly 500 yards per game. All right? And now look at all the way down at the end. Look at where BYU is at 300 yards to game. This defense needs to eat. This is an offense that is not putting up many yards. This is an offense that's not moving the ball. And so if you want to take some pressure off Malik Murphy, what you've got to be able to do is be able to limit an offense that clearly is already limited. Go ahead and show them the quarterback numbers, Aaron, as well. Okay, look at the QB numbers that we have here, and look at the passing numbers that are here. Now look at number 5. Not number 5. That's where you find Keaton Slovis, right? But right now he's averaging 217 passing yards per game. Dylan Gabriel's at 304. Quinn at 273. Okay. And then you've got Keaton Slovis at right there at the 2. I said 212. He's 217. Excuse me. It's kind of small, and I have old eyes, so excuse me for that one. But he's at the 217 mark. So how do you help a guy like Malik? You get to a guy like Keaton Slovis, who is pretty limited. He's not a runner. He's a pocket passer. And at 200 yards per game, that's not really anything to lose a ton of sleep over. And then there's one more defense. There's one more stat that's out there, Aaron, right? There's one more that I sent you. And then let's look at the total defense right now. Let's look at where Texas is at. Now that you saw the offensive numbers and where they're at, you could see the defensive numbers. Texas is giving up an average of 333 yards per game. That's number 2, obviously, in the Big 12. So this defense, right on, the BYU is giving up averaging about 300 yards on offense. Texas is only giving up 3. So Texas does what they normally do against this BYU offense, then they should be okay. They should be absolutely all right, because this offense from BYU has not been outstanding or stellar by any stretch of the imagination. So there you go. You want to help out Malik Murphy. That's one of the keys when it's all said and done, is this defense has to be better. It has to limit BYU in order to help out your young quarterback. There's number 8. Number 8 on this thing. Number 7. Sorry, thank you. 7. Number 7. This is a tricky conversation that we need to have, because I know when it comes to quarterbacks, the thing I've learned is that everyone wants to take a side, and no one really takes the side on put the best quarterback out there. They take the side on this is my guy versus your guy. So so we're clear as we go down this thing, right, of the quarterback conversations. So we're clear. I'm an Arch guy, but I'm also a Malik guy, but I'm an Arch dude. Okay, so let's just be clear. And let's draw up those lines real quick. I'm an Arch dude. I'm team Arch. Okay, so I'm Golden Arches, right? I'm McDowell's. I'm McDowell's, okay, when it's all said and done. But as relates to this situation, you've got to give Malik Murphy a fair leash. What do you mean by fair, Anwar? What I mean by fair is you've got to allow him the opportunities to fail and succeed. And it can't be, he struggled, pull him. It's been 2 series, hasn't gone good, pull him. You got to give him some wiggle room. You can't create a quarterback controversy at all. And I think for me, you've got to be fair about this situation. You've got to let this thing ride. You got to give, because the moment you say to yourself, well, let's go ahead and throw an Arch, that's the moment that you're opening up the door for a whole lot of things. But I also think that Malik Murphy, barring catastrophic performance, should be given an opportunity to prove himself throughout this game. He's just that should happen. So for me, you got to give him a fair leash. So I get fair, not long, not that 10-foot leash. You know, some of you dog owners got these damn long ass leashes, 20 feet or something like that. Your dog is all damn everywhere. Your dog's coming up to me. You think I want to pet your dog? I don't want to pet your dog. Get your damn dog on a shorter leash. I don't want to be around your dog. If I wanted to pet your dog, come to your house. I'm trying to walk right now. So that being said, give him a fair leash in order to succeed and potentially struggle before you make any moves. So that will be for me, number 8. Now I'm gonna go to number 8. Topsy said, "Don't kick the dog." I'm just not a pet person. I don't really. I got kids. Like, that's enough to clean up after. Like, why I gotta have a pet? You know, I don't want pets. I just don't. I don't want to have the responsibility of them. I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing and go take them home and then go home and walk them and all kinds of stuff. They don't live long enough. Pets don't live long enough, Aaron. I don't want that. You know, you got them. And it's like, ooh, it's like 10 years later. You got to deal with all that, the sicknesses, and 12 years later. I don't like all that. So, and that's, you know, so no, I'm not a pet guy. But, you know, everyone else is, so I usually have to adjust. Trust to number 8. Trust the input from Quinn Ewers and AJ Milwee. That's going to be a key thing for him. Because, you know, obviously Quinn's going to be on the sidelines. And he, as a young quarterback, is going to be thinking to himself, these are the things I should or should not be doing. And he's going to be thinking in his head, hey, I know these guys are saying this because you're a quarterback and you're sitting there on the sidelines, or like any player. You know, you always, and if you played sports and you see the starters that are in there doing stuff, you always think to yourself, like, if I got in, I would do this. If I got in, I'd do that. Like, I'd be able to do all these things. But then at the end of the day, like, no, you got to trust on what Quinn's going to tell you, because he's been in that fire. Got to trust Milwee and be coachable. And if you're coachable, I think he has a chance to be successful as well. So trust Quinn and AJ. Number 9's big for me. This is big for me. It could be higher if I'm just being a buck. But number 9 for me is take smart risk on 4th downs. Look, I get it. I get it. Sark is saying, like, we're going to take risk and the team loves it and we're gonna go and this is what we're gonna do. I get all that, but when you got a young quarterback, you can't be doing things like fake field goals that all of a sudden sway momentum and then now ask your young quarterback to try to lead you back. Like, you can't do that. You can't put that on him. You can't put what you would put on a veteran quarterback on a young guy at this moment. So you have to take the smart risk on 4th down. You can't shorten the field for the opponents and then ask Malik to bail you out if it doesn't go well. I understand taking a field goal may not be sexy, but in a case like this, you do need to take the points when you have a young quarterback. I'm sorry, but you will need to take the points. That's the smart thing to do. And so for me, it's take smart risks. If you're going to take a risk, then run a good play call. But what you don't need is to be running your running back and your kicker rather, to see if your kicker can get you a 1st down. Don't do that. There's a lot of things to do. Don't do that. Take the points as Tet. Well, I can't say it. Teta Party 1, which I probably just jacked it up, said points. Take the points. That's the thing for me. Number 10, last but not least, and this becomes the most simplistic one. Minimize the turnovers, and that's the Malik thing as well. You cannot go into a situation where you turn the ball over. Just can't win a game like that. You got to minimize the turnovers. Can't have short fields. So if he's able to do that, he will have the chance for success as well. All right, Aaron, let's do one break. Let's do a break real quick. And then when we come back, we've got Jason Suchomel in the chat. Start guessing what hat he's going to be wearing. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what it is. Is it going to be Adidas? Is it going to be Rivals? Is he going to pull out something just to throw you guys off? There's 3 hats on the table. He got that new hat as well. Will he have a Steelers hat on? No Yankees hat, because he's not he's not representing that. No Yankees to represent. So what hat does Jason have on? Put your guesses in the chat. And as soon as we come back, we'll talk with Jason Suchomel about a subject I know he's going to be really excited about. Yeah, just been obviously following the story since it happened last night, and then kind of spent all day following the story. And, there's still things that are developing at this moment, but finally felt like I was at a place where it was comfortable enough to kind of put out there and report what I knew, or things that I kind of knew a little bit earlier today. But, Quinn Ewers sustains an AC joint sprain, is what I was told, according to my sources, in his throwing shoulder. I think there's a little bit of confusion out there, Catch, because people saw that hit that Quinn took and they assumed that's what got him hurt or got him injured. But that actually, if you look at it more closely, that happened to his left shoulder. That was not when the injury occurred. It occurred during a sack against Houston. That's when Quinn gets hurt. As you can see, Pete Thamel, not too long after I tweet that out, he ends up confirming it and then adding a little bit more details with a grade 2 AC joint sprain in his right throwing shoulder, as the MRI revealed this point. Again, he kind of confirms what I report, that, as of Sunday night, no timetable for the return, but we'll learn more this week. I think there's more tests, Catch, that from what I'm learning, that will probably be rerun this week to kind of make a determination as to when Quinn will return. And so because of that, that's the reason why there is no timetable. But I think the safest things to say at this moment is that, 1, AC joint sprain, so there's no break or anything to that effect. But 2, you're probably not going to see Quinn on the field within the next couple of weeks. Like, I think you have to go into this weekend a game, or this upcoming weekend's game, feeling like, it's probably going to be Malik starting at the quarterback position, feeling how Arch feels in. But the big news as of this moment is, one of the worst case scenarios that you can have for Texas Longhorns season is knowing that your starting quarterback once again is not going to be available. Once again, of course, this happened last year. And then, in my Sunday pulpit, I went through a whole list of Texas quarterback injuries that have happened probably since 2009. So that's kind of where we are as relates to Quinn Ewers as of Sunday night. All right, let's go into our Speakeasy Lounge and let's figure out what hat Jason Suchomel has on today. Let's see it. Let's do it, Aaron. Let's see what happens. He went with the Rivals, the new Rivals.com hat. Really?
Just nailed it. Yeah.
Wow.
This is not a new hat. This is probably a 10-year-old hat, Anwar. Yeah.
It's a 10-year. What was the new one you got, Jason?
Oh,
You had
the Adidas one, the new Adidas one?
Yeah, you bought the new Adidas one. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Jason.
I even got a new shirt on. I freshened, let me tell you a true story before we start getting into recruiting.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we were doing our modcast, Anwar. Not that you guys aren't completely entertaining, but I was doing a little side shopping while we were doing the modcast. I was like,
I do it a lot.
Yeah. Dude, I'm like, I literally wear the same shirts. I've had them for 15 years. I'm not even kidding. So
yes,
I don't know how the hell I stumbled upon it, but while we're doing the modcast, I stumbled upon some website called $6 t-shirts. So I ordered like 10 t-shirts. So
Did you really? Oh, send that to me.
Yeah, I think it's just called $6 t-shirt.
$6 t-shirt.
Yeah,
So, by the way, someone asked us that refreshing. That's a Seinfeld t-shirt for Serenity Now, which is the calming thing that the dad
George's dad,
was supposed to go through.
Yeah.
Yes, and then Serenity Now, Serenity Now.
As he screams it out at the top of his lungs. You know, I got a Vandalay Industries one, and I love the movie Tommy Boy, so I got sent the Callahan Auto Parts, and
oh man,
I got one that says like it feels weird being the same age as all these old people or something like that. So, but anyways, so old hat, new shirt. Yeah.
So now I know exactly. So it's called $6 t-shirts. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing as soon as this thing is over. I'll probably get like another 10. Did you get any like free shipping or anything like that if you order a certain amount?
And I think the $6 shirts, I think some of the ones I ordered were like $7. No, I think they charged me a few bucks for shipping, but they're pretty decent quality t-shirts too, so they're not bad, man. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So Jason, let me start here. I don't want to start with recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start here. I know that you would never want a guy to get injured, right?
I knew you'd be talking about this today, but yeah. Go ahead.
And then you would never want a guy to be injured. And I'm sure you feel bad for Quinn and everything that's happening. But two things can be true. But you could probably also very happy for Malik Murphy in order to see it. This is a guy I've heard you talk about for years out there, and when he was in high school, the nicest guy that you've ever covered. So Jason, I want to hear what you have to say about Malik Murphy and him getting a start on Saturday.
Yeah, well, listen, it does suck for Quinn, and you feel bad for him. Happened last year, happens again this year, and I mean, I don't know how that affects his future if he comes out after this year. I don't know what happens for Quinn, so I hate that for Quinn. And you're right, you never root for injury, but listen, I'm not bashful about it. I've always been a Malik Murphy fan ever since meeting him. I guess would that have been his junior year of high school, and I thought it was interesting to this week. You saw some of the comments like from Michael Taft and just about it. I was like, hey, that's exactly what I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 years. He just has an infectious personality. He's got a big smile. He's super positive, just incredibly nice. Like, what does that mean for Saturday on the field onward? I don't know. I mean, Malik may go out and throw for 350 yards. He may really struggle and get pulled. I don't know what to expect. I hate that it comes at Quinn's expense, but I am happy for Malik, and I am really curious to see what he does with this opportunity, right? Again, I've said it. You've heard me say it repeatedly ad nauseum. The guy just has he has an it factor. He has a winning characteristic, a winning personality. I've seen it at 7-on-7 competitions. I've seen it his senior year of high school. He led a team that nobody thought would be competitive to a state championship. Some big upsets along the way. He walks into an arena at the 7-on-7 deal out in Nevada, Las Vegas. Teams from Florida and California and Oregon and Texas. I mean, teams from all over the country there. Malik Murphy walks in the building, Anwar. People stop and stare like, whoa, and people like just want to go up and meet him and talk to him. He's just a really cool cat, man, and good kid, comes from a good family. I will be rooting for Malik to be very successful. I know that's not the most objective thing for a reporter to say, but yeah, kind of had I don't say a soft spot in my heart, but I've always liked, and it's not just Malik, man. I talk about Malik a lot, but I get to know a lot of these kids and, over the years, and there's a lot of them that I really grow to like, but Malik was always very accessible for me. Again, very personable. I don't know. Have they made him available to the local media yet?
No. I don't think he'll be available probably until after the game.
Yeah. So you'll get a taste of that on Saturday. And who knows, by now they may have kind of washed all this stuff out of him. The Texas SID does sometimes, but he's really engaging if you just get to talk to him. I remember a couple of years ago at the spring game, he came in with his trainer, who's also an awesome dude, by the way. But and I sat with them in the stands at the spring game and just hung out with him. And really cool guy and a fun guy to talk to. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm excited to see how Malik does. Obviously, I hope he does well for his sake, for the sake of Orange Bloods, for the sake of me having to monitor the message board on Saturday afternoon. So, big opportunity for Malik. Let's see what he does with it.
Talk about a little bit, Jason, as you know, the competitiveness in him, because you talked about like some of the 7-on-7, right? But here's a guy that, he was the only guy that was originally committed in this class, and it was supposed to be, and then Quinn kind of gets in here as a transfer guy, kind of at the last minute. Malik still stays at Texas. He doesn't leave. Still says, I'm going to go fight this thing out. Arch commits, in the summertime. He still stays. Still says he's going to fight this thing out. He has a really good spring game. And you tell yourself in the era of the transfer portal, that's all you needed, right? You've got your tape. You've got teams that are coming after you. Like, you're all right. You're like, there you go. You're out. That still doesn't leave. Still kind of, once it says he's going to fight this thing out, everything kind of says like Malik has this confidence in him that even though these guys may have the names, that he's just as good. He's good or probably better than the guys he's competing against. So talk about the competitive nature that you know about Malik.
Ultra competitive, but in a very respectful kind of way. He's not the kind of guy that's going to boast and brag, and he's not going to trash talk. He's not going to downgrade his opponents with his conversations. The thing about Malik, he was at Gardena Serra High School. He sat for 2 years behind, and I can't remember the quarterback's name, and he went to it wasn't Utah, but he went somewhere kind of up in that Pacific West Coast. Really good high school player. The point being, and Malik sat behind him for 2 years. And I remember talking to people out there, and they're like, hey, other programs out in California, I'm talking power programs, like the elite of the elite national programs, kind of recruited Malik, which is not, in Texas, that's not supposed to happen. California, it's a little more fair game because there's some private schools out there, but tried to get him to leave his school. And he said, no, I'm going to stick it out here. I'm going to stick it out. And I'll wait my 2 years, and then bided his time. And then, of course, he gets in there. And I thought it was interesting, his high school career, his first year as a starter was the COVID shortened year. Okay. And he did okay, but he was a borderline 5-star talent, and he kept dropping down the rankings. And I'm like, what am I missing here? And then his senior year, they play the full season. He lights it up. He gets better as the season goes on. Again, it leads him to a state championship, and he kept trickling down the Rivals rankings. I'm like, what am I missing here? This dude should be moving up. He had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about the rankings. He would kind of joke about it, be like, man, what do I have to do here? But he is a very confident person, very confident player, confident in his abilities. You'll see the locker room rally around him. I mean, you kind of heard people talking about it this week. I don't expect Texas to go into this game thinking, oh no, poor us, we're going in with our backup quarterback. Malik Murphy wouldn't allow that, and he exudes confidence that I think is contagious. Again, now am I saying he's going to go out there and set the world on fire on Saturday afternoon? No, I don't know what to expect. People keep asking. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm as blind to this as anybody else. I mean, we've seen his spring game performance was really good, right? But we've also seen him struggle some at a couple practices. So, I'm like you, Anwar. I don't know what to expect, but I am excited, and I do think he certainly has the potential to do really well. But we'll find out Saturday afternoon.
The question, Jason, that I think is the toughest one to answer, because you like you say to yourself, you don't know what to expect, from Malik. But the other question that it has is how long should the leash be for Malik Murphy? Because there is Arch that's there. These are backups, so the backup leashes are usually shorter than the leash that you have for your starter. How long should it be? Like what would need to happen in order for him to, for you to feel like, okay, it's time to go to Arch, or if something, negative happened, just how long is the leash for Malik Murphy? How long should it be?
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario, right? He comes in, he thinks he's going to be, QB1 potentially, and then Quinn Ewers comes in front of him. And then you get Arch Manning right behind you. It's like poor Malik just can't win. But that's a really good question that I honestly haven't really put much thought in. I think it depends on, if he's turning the ball over and just is completely out of sync, then do you go to Arch? And you're going to obviously probably burn Arch's red shirt, assuming he would play 4 games, which he may or may not, depending on Quinn's situation. And there's no guarantee that Arch is going to be better. I know Sark said Arch had, his best practice since he's been on campus a couple of weeks ago. But we've also covered some practices and talked to some sources. This is more going back into fall camp where, Arch had some really good practices, but he also had some where he struggled. In the spring game, I mean, he's out there with third stringers and stuff, but the spring game, he looked like he was overwhelmed a little bit. So, I don't know the answer to that. That's just kind of a gut feel, and it's a little bit risky because if Malik is struggling a little bit and you go to Arch, there's no guarantee that Arch is going to be better. Then what do you do? Do you go back to Malik? Do you just ride with Arch, the true freshman? I think, this BYU team, and they're a formidable opponent, but this is a game Texas should be able to win regardless. Okay. So I think you give Malik a fairly long leash. Certainly he goes into the second half, I think, as your starter. If you're talking early to mid third quarter and he's just not getting it done, maybe the game's really close, tied, God forbid Texas is behind, then I think you can justify making a switch to Arch because that next game against Kansas State is going to be a lot tougher. They've got to play well this week, but I think you give Malik a decently long leash to kind of find his footing in his first start.
What's your thought, Jason, outside of the quarterback situation on the defense? The past prior to Oklahoma, this is one of the better defenses in the country. And then all of a sudden it's like Texas has faced some quarterbacks that have a pulse, and suddenly Dylan Gabriel is able to go and have some success. Last week, Donovan was able to have some success. Is it as simple as they're facing better QBs and that's why there's a struggle? Do you think there's something deeper? But I'm just kind of curious, what's your thoughts on where this defense is at right now?
Yeah, well, you kind of mentioned it like after week 4 or something. You're like, hey, they've played a lot of backups and, they haven't really played great quarterbacks. And I think we kind of fell for a little bit of fool's gold. I mean, Oklahoma, obviously Gabriel made big plays down the stretch, but they did keep him in check for a lot of the game. Now, when it mattered, they didn't. I tell you, that performance last week, though, was just pretty bad. And I didn't think Donovan Smith was that great. He started off pretty slowly. He's throwing behind guys. He's missing receivers. By the end of the game, he's making it look easy. They've had some injuries. I'm like, oh my gosh, is Ryan Watts that important to this secondary? Because
it makes you wonder, right?
Doesn't look that good. They're not getting a lot of pass rush. Where Jalen Ford's kind of been quiet the last couple games, or we're expecting more from him. I think we're now 7 games in, right? I think what we can probably say is what we saw early in the season was this defense playing a little bit over its head against overmatched competition. I think what we're seeing lately, I think, is the true Texas defense. Sark mentioned on Monday, he mentioned the crossing routes, and they hadn't really seen that a lot, and they were getting rubbed and picked and those kinds of things. And I'm like, man, I don't understand why they can't make the adjustments. It's the same on offense. He's like, hey, these teams keep showing us different things. And that just is maddening to me to hear that. I'm like, dude, that's your job to figure it out in game and make those adjustments. But, early on where I was on record as saying, hey, this defense is going to be good enough. It can carry Texas if the offense doesn't play well. It can carry Texas if Quinn Ewers gets hurt and they have to go to backup quarterbacks. This defense is good enough. This team can still win every game on the table. I don't know about that anymore. I mean, this defense, it's had its struggles the last couple weeks. I think BYU, Caden Slovis is what he is. I mean, I think the defense will be fine this week, but that K-State game in a couple weeks is going to be a test, and they got to get it figured back out with this defense because they've hit a valley and they need to be on an upswing here.
All right, Jason, let's talk recruiting. What's going on in the world of recruiting? I know obviously you done your recruiting Q&A that's up there. A couple of different things. Let me start real quick. I saw that there was something posted on the board yesterday that a Baylor commit was actually going to go and visit Texas. I think Adam Gorney had that one. Give us just a little bit. We're not to spend forever on that, but Alex Foster is going to be coming. What can you just tell everybody about that?
Interior defensive lineman. Texas desperately wants another defensive tackle type in this class. Bo Davis, he's from Mississippi. Bo Davis has roots in Mississippi, so pretty much any defensive lineman with their salt in Mississippi seems to get an offer from Bo Davis. But Bo Davis did offer him it was only a few weeks ago. He's committed to Baylor, right? Bo Davis offers him a few weeks ago. I kind of did some checking around, and the word from people close to Alex Foster was like, hey, he's probably going to stick with Baylor unless something crazy happens. Well, 2.5 weeks later, he's going to go to Baylor this weekend on an unofficial visit. I think he's already taken his Baylor official visit, but he'll be in town for that Kansas State game in Austin for an official visit. So Texas will have its chance to really move the needle there. Listen, man, no slight to Baylor, but Dave Aranda's not exactly setting the world on fire up there, academically. I mean, Texas just offers a lot of things that Baylor can't. So he hasn't said, hey, yeah, I'm really intrigued by Texas. He hasn't said anything. He just said, hey, I'll know more after I take these 2 visits. I'll have more information. But I got to think, just on the surface, Texas has a really good job of flipping Alex Foster. Again, he is a guy that they want one more interior guy. There's another one out of Florida that's committed to Auburn, Dimitri Nicholas. I'm going to try to follow up today. He's supposed to take a visit to Texas at some point. I have not heard that a date has been locked up, but I was told a visit would happen. So we'll see what's, hopefully have an update on Orange Bloods on him at some point today. But yeah, Alex Foster will be in Austin. He's currently committed to Baylor, be at Baylor this weekend, Texas for the Kansas State game. And then I think we'll have probably an answer shortly after that Texas visit.
We don't have to trigger Tech fans at this moment because God knows it doesn't take much as relates to them. You did have a quick mention of it. So, Jason, give us understanding. Like late last week, things kind of come out, and then all of a sudden it's Micah Hudson saying he's 1,000% committed to Tech or something to that effect, which, what do you expect the kid to really say when he's committed and potentially looking at other options? Like, you expect that to happen, but whatever that slight chance is, just give me your thoughts on that, on the Micah Hudson conversation.
Yeah, if you're 1,000% committed, you're not taking visits to A&M, still talking to all these other coaches and stuff. Micah's an intelligent kid, and even before he was committed, I mean, everybody knew it was going to be Texas Tech for 3 months or whatever. And, he plays the game pretty well. Obviously Texas they're not going to give up. They need another receiver desperately. Okay. Especially with Ryan Wingo likely to commit to Missouri tomorrow. I mean, Texas needs at least one more receiver in this class. Micah Hudson is always going to be a guy that's on their radar. They're going to keep talking to him. He never did take his Texas official visit, Anwar. So, it'd be great if they can get him on campus. It'd be great if they could get him in for an official visit. The other side of that, I mean, I do think he's happy with this Texas Tech commitment, but, you reported in the war room, Texas Tech isn't doing particularly well. He's gone to several of their games. When he goes up there, they're not exactly throwing the ball all over the field. You know what? Hey, maybe Micah watches this game this week, and if Malik does well in his first start, or even Arch, he's like, hold on, I go to Texas. I got a really good young quarterback that I know is going to be there with me for a couple years at least. So, I think Texas can continue to work there. I think Texas has a shot. The door is open a little bit, but I also think they have to do a much better job of recruiting him than they did previously. Texas took some, maybe missteps. They didn't prioritize him the way that, maybe they probably should have. I've heard that they didn't recruit his family maybe the way they always should have. Texas Tech did a really good job there. So I think Texas has a chance with Micah Hudson. This weekend could be big if Texas goes out and plays well. I think they have a chance, but I do think Texas Tech, if I'm betting right now, I'm probably still betting on Texas Tech.
Last thing, Jason, and I'll let you go. Does any other recruiting nuggets, notes that would need to know about? Let's see, and we'll check and see if there's any questions in the chat too, by the way, for you.
Yeah, not a ton last week with Texas being on the road. It was, kind of a slow week in recruiting, and we're still waiting on DeAndre Carter, the offensive lineman out of Mater Dei, to make his final decision between Texas and Auburn. Auburn's on a 4-game losing streak all of a sudden, right? Texas can give him really good NIL opportunities. It's really easy to catch a flight from LA to Austin. I mean, there's a lot of things weighing in Texas's favor. Did hear last week that his heart was still in Auburn, but, sometimes your heart and your brain can tell you two different things. And you're like, you know what? Man, I kind of love this girl over here, but this one over here is going to be a lawyer someday, and family has oil money and whatever else. So maybe, sorry, farmer's daughter. Maybe I'm going with the partner in the law firm. But we're waiting on DeAndre Carter. I think that one will probably come out pretty soon. Solomon Williams, is a defense, kind of an edge player. We're still waiting. He visited Oregon last week. I expect we'll hear a decision from him pretty soon. There was a lot of talk about A&M. He's a teammate of Dimitri Nicholas, the defensive lineman I mentioned. So, there's some moving parts. Honestly, it's kind of a waiting game right now on a few guys, but I think we'll start seeing some answers here in the next couple of weeks.
There's a Mike Torres question in there. We'll get to. So Mike wants to know, hey, I'll put this for you more so, Jason. Would you rather have an Alex Foster type commit or save that spot for a possible transfer portal guy down the road?
I'll be honest, Mike, I have not looked at his film. I need to do that. But in talking to people when he was first offered, it wasn't just overwhelmingly glowing reviews. I mean, he has a lot of potential is what I'm told, but he didn't really have a great summer on the camp circuit and things like that. Listen, man, I want to trust Bo Davis. Obviously, he knows more in his pinky finger than I know about defensive linemen. He's got a great track record of developing guys. But I have said, and I've been on record, hey, I would like to see Bo Davis. He does a good job with these types, right? The 3, maybe low 4 stars, even mid 4 stars. But I'd like to see Bo Davis start winning some of these recruitments where you're beating Alabama, okay, and you're beating Georgia for these interior defensive linemen, some of the 5-star types. So, I don't know enough about Alex Foster that I should put that on my to-do list. I need to go watch his film. But, people I talked to said, hey, good player, has potential, but still has some work to do to kind of reach that potential. So to answer your question, I don't know what's going to be in the portal. That's tough to say. And the portal's always a little bit risky, man. If you pass on a high school guy, there's no guarantee that there's going to be any decent portal guys or portal options out there. So I'm kind of the opinion, hey, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, or whatever the hell that expression is. So if Bo Davis thinks Alex Foster is good enough for a spot, then I say prioritize him. Don't necessarily wait for the portal, and then you're kind of struggling there potentially. But, he's not the type of guy that you're going to be out recruiting Georgia and Clemson and Alabama and Florida State for. So, he's a little bit of an under the radar type take.
Rodolfo asked Jason update on 2025 wide receiver target and Taz. I'm assuming he's talking to Decorian Moore. You think that's
there's a lot of them, probably Decorian. Decorian, nothing new. He's been to Austin a couple times, and he did say last week, hey, he's committed to LSU, of course. He's pretty public and he's about it. And he said, I'm still keeping the door open. I'm not closing the door on Texas. I mean, you've got Colin Simmons, obviously recruiting him for Texas, which is, A, that's a good sign for Colin Simmons. B, it's good to have Colin recruiting Decorian Moore, Alex January, Taz. He's talking about Taz Williams. Taz is keeping a pretty open mind. Taz, a receiver out of Red Oak, another one of my favorite dudes, man. Awesome dude to talk to. I could go on a tangent about Taz just from a personal note. I just love that kid. But very thoughtful, very respectful kid. But I think Texas was really late to offer Taz Williams, and I thought that might really hurt UT. Because, he's got Ohio State and Alabama. Everybody in the world had offered him. Texas waited. Chris Jackson saw him early this fall. Texas offered him. I think Texas is right there in the mix. It's a really deep wide receiver class in that 2025 group. I think Texas will do well and get 2 or 3 of those guys. Which ones, I don't know. I do think one of them will be Decorian Moore, if I'm being honest. But I don't know that for sure. And if we're being honest, Chris Jackson's still a little bit unproven as a recruiter. So we need to see him close on some of these deals. But I do think Texas is right there in the mix for Taz Williams.
All right. That'll be the end of that. It's fun. So Jason, I have a running bit here on the show. I'm just kind of curious for you. So I have a running bit thing that every time someone mispronounces my name and call me Anwar, everyone has to do a shot. Right. And so usually when I have a guest on and they kind of know me, but they didn't know. So they'll say Anwar, and you'll just see the chats just lining up. Yeah. So I saw Craig say something. Yeah. So we put the shot glasses on after the segment to know, like, hey, we don't keep a tally per se, but we let everybody know, like, if you keep a tally at home. So, like, we had someone on today, probably 12 times, right? So you should have like a lot of drunk people. And Craig said him to think, but Jason, when you go on shows, how do people pronounce your last name? What do you know? Tell me about your name getting butchered.
I mean, it's Such. You can see it on the screen. Omel. So I've heard it I've heard Schmel. I've heard Suchomel. I mean, I've heard every Suchomel. I mean, every once in a while, people will get it right, and I'll be like, "Wow, that's like happened maybe a handful of times." Normally, they ask me before we go on, hey, how the hell do you say your name? And I tell them, and even then they still don't remember a lot of times. But I'm like, whatever. Just I've heard it butchered every which way. I don't even really care at this point. But you know what? Hey, if you get that little shot thing, you and I need to do like a Friday night show for like an hour, and I'm going to Anwar the shit out of you. We'll have a good old time, dude.
Well, yeah, we can definitely do that. And by the way, let me tell you something real quick, Jason. So that you and Alex with this bet that you'll never pay up. I'm going to give you something now. So when Ketch brings it up, now you have something to use against him. So he came on with me yesterday, and he said like, hey, if I ask about what was it? If I asked about
the question in the press conference?
Yeah, my question in the press conference.
Yeah,
the adjustments, and this and that. He told me he would give me a Pluckers card, right? So I said, okay. But then here's the thing, Jason. I said, well, I need it to be an email because we goes, no, well, I'll give it to you when I see you. I was like, Ketch, I want to see you like once a year. Yeah. And so I knew the moment he said, I'll give it to you when I see you, I knew it's never going to happen, right? I just knew this is going to be Ketch pushing this thing down the road. And so now I asked about it, and then I saw him something on Orange, but said, well, it wasn't exactly how I asked or something like that. So I just want to let you know, the next time this whole Casey Thompson, Hudson Card thing comes up, feel free to ask, when are you going to give Anwar that Pluckers gift card? And that should be the ultimate equalizer.
Well, I will say, I don't think we're ever getting that lunch, okay?
Alex already let it be known he's not paying.
Yeah, he's already said, I'm not paying. I'm not taking everybody lunch. He did pay me. He sent me a $20 Venmo. It was a bet. Gosh, I don't remember what the second bet was. But then if you remember, that Quinn Ewers would be the starter week 1, okay? So that hit. And then a couple weeks ago, he said Xavier Worthy would have a 79-yard touchdown catch against Oklahoma. Remember? Because that was
Yes.
I'll bet you $10 on that. And so technically, he did pay me the 20 for the Quinn bet. He still owes me 10 for that Xavier Worthy bet, and then the lunch thing. I think we know will never happen.
It will never happen.
We're not getting the short end of the stick on these deals, Anwar. So. I'm not going to make any more bets until the money's put in a pool, and then we know it's there. Because outside of that, there's just being bets that are being made and wagered, and we're just learning that everyone in Orange was a cheapskate that's never going to pay. So, hey, donate the $10 to charity, and we'll call it even. I don't.
Oh no, you know what? Because you're supposed to donate money to charity, and you refused one time as well. Because your ass, no. We had something, and then I remember
you're going down a rabbit hole here. Wait,
because you're part of the problem too. Because you and I had a bet, and then you said you refused to give the money to charity or something to that effect.
I am the most charitable dude on the Orange.
It was a curse jar. Remember, it was the curse jar, and I said every time you curse, then we'll collect the money. So, Aaron, this is what I propose. I said, every time someone curses on the modcast, we keep a tally of it. And then at the end of the year, we donate that money to charity, right? So every time somebody cusses, so somebody decides to keep a running total, and they kept the running total for weeks on
just a listener did. Yeah.
A listener did. And then we finally had the running total on everything. And then when I told people what they owed, Jason was like, I'm not paying that.
No. You're telling half the story, because that listener was docking me for saying crap. The word crap. Because I purposely didn't cuss after you said that. And he's like, no, you got 20 craps and BS. I'm like, those aren't curse words, dude. I'm like, I'm not paying. He's like, you owe $220. I'm like, no, I really owe $6. He was hitting me for all these.
Was it 6? It was maybe
20, maybe. But yeah, I was
maybe.
No. So yeah, I was like,
You didn't even pay the half that you would have said. You didn't even pay the half.
Nobody did. Hey, nobody. Hey, I know your show ends in 6 minutes. I can make a list of all the charitable things I've done on Orange Bloods, and nobody on this staff can touch my generosity when it comes to charity. So no, I will gladly pay my debts and my charities, but not when someone makes shit up after the fact. I'm like, hold on, man, that wasn't the agreement. So
I feel like we came to an agreement on what we eventually came to agreement what the cuss words were supposed to be. But then there was the retro stuff that you didn't want to pay, and then it just became a huge argument back and forth. And I'm like, well, now I don't even want to do it. So there's some kids who could have gotten Christmas presents that year.
Give the Bill Biddick's bike charity thing, and I've auctioned off a $5,000 Ricky Williams Heisman helmet for a subscriber whose girl was ill, and I could go on. I've 75 Wheaties national championship boxes I sold and donated that money, like $5,000, to a guy who just lost his daughter.
No one said you hadn't done anything. You just didn't do anything that time. You chose
not. I want to clarify. You're painting me into a bad picture. Like, hold on now. That's not.
No, I just said no one on OB likes to pay up. That's all I'm saying.
I pay up.
You didn't pay up. Okay, let's go find the list. I'll go through my archives. I'll find the list. And then just do that. But
Jason hates the poor. Our producers. Yeah, Jason's about to scream, "Serenity now!" Serenity now.
Go ahead and scream it for us, Jason.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
All right, Aaron, let's just cut the show now, man. On that note, that's been a great show. We'll just go ahead and cut it now. I do have receipts. I'm going to have it, but I do remember. So Catch hasn't paid. Alex hasn't paid. There's a certain degree of something that you haven't paid.
All right.
It's a certain degree. No matter, even if it wasn't the 200, there's like $10 or so that's out there that could have gone to give some poor kid a skateboard. And that kid didn't have a skateboard. And when he robs you at the ATM in 3 years, he's going to be like, if I got a skateboard when I was 8, and they'd be like, I'm sorry, man. Here's your money in retro.
Karma, yeah. I'm avoiding the ATM for the next 6 months.
Again, who robs at an ATM? Everything's like cybercrime.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Robs my Venmo, hacks my Venmo or something. Yeah.
Anytime I see someone who's like, I see something on the news and someone robs a store, I'm like, God, how uneducated are you? You don't have a laptop? Like, you're supposed to be doing cyber crimes. Like, who's doing this? Like, supposed to get some sort of like IPN or different VPN and rob. All right. On that note, let's go ahead and get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. House Divided. We'll be here at 12 noon for Jason Suchomel, for Aaron Little, who's producing behind the scenes. You guys take care. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, I always say, live each day like it was your last. One day it will be. You guys